Mayor Bumstead has commitments with his family today, so he's not able to make it, and he sends his regrets. First of all, I'd like to open the public hearing for Monday, August the 21st, 2017. Could I have the Director of Corporate Administration to read aloud the notice of public hearing, please?
Thank you. This public hearing is being held to hear from anyone that may be affected by the proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw. Bylaw number 4349, 2017, proposes to rezone the property currently owned by Louisiana Pacific Canada Limited and located at 8243 Road 221 in Dawson Creek by split zoning a portion of the existing building from M2 light industrial to M3 heavy industrial, and there were no comments received.
Thank you. I'll call for the first of three times. Is there any comments? Calling for second time. Is there any comments? Calling for the third time. Is there any comments? I'd like to close the public hearing. And we can now move on to Monday, August 21st, regular meeting of City Council. I'll call that meeting to order. New councillor business. I have a memo from Councillor McFadden regarding the 2018 Kiwanis Home and Garden Show. Mr. McFadden.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would make a motion that the theme for the city's booth at the 2018 Kiwanis Home and Garden showcase the importance of the Dawson Creek Regional Airport, and that staff be directed to include Central Mountain, Integra Air, and perhaps the local air cadets. And I see there should be no change in any budgetary matters. In fact, it probably cost a little bit less. Thank you.
Yeah. Seconded, Councillor Jabekov. Discussion? Councillor Wilbur?
Given that the Kiwanis Home and Garden Show is about business, I'm happy to support the motion, but I would ask for a friendly amendment that we also include Love Dawson Creek.
You okay with that, Mr.
I'm fine with that. A good idea.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Item 2.2, Councillor Parslow regarding the Sandy Dump potable water system.
Yeah, I had some people talk to me about a number of issues to do with this new facility. One of which was the lack of signing. How would anybody know where it was? So that's been taken care of by staff. The condition of the road, which is an issue because of the work that's going on around it, so that will be cleaned up, I think, by the time of the next tourist season. But the other issue that was raised with me, again, we did discuss this briefly at another council meeting, was the issue of lack of a potable water dispensing station. There is potable water there, but right now it would be concern about cross-contamination because it's used for flushing tanks and stuff. So I move that the staff be instructed to investigate the options and costs of adding a potable water dispensing station to the newly finished RV Sandy Dump.
Seconder, Councillor Schumann. Discussion, Councillor Schumann.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that Councillor Parslow has just mentioned. We've had we've used the Sandy Dump, and right away I noticed that there was no potable water, and it's really something that travelers do need when they're dumping. They're not always going to a site next that has water available, and we've been in that situation many times ourselves. And I think that hopefully the cost won't be too great, seeing as how there already is water to the site, and perhaps just another tap added. We visited one in Grand Prairie recently, and it was beautiful. You were filling your tanks with the potable water as you were dumping your other tanks. So I feel like if we're going to have this service available, that we should have a good service. So I absolutely support this motion.
Any other comments? Duncan?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, so the road has been repaired from the truck waste handling facility. It was under construction and they've underneath that roadway, so that's been repaired. Signage, as Councillor Parslow mentioned, has been ordered and it's in, so we'll have that signage out on 8th. Just some direction on whether you're looking for a coin-operated or a pay, I guess, potable water system. We have another potable water system at the Mile Zero Park Society. That is a donation box. Staff would recommend, if we are going to put potable water down there, it is across from the water sales, which is also pay, and that we would look at a pay system. But looking for council's direction on that.
Just one question. How long has the new Sandy dump actually been open for now?
I believe we opened July 1st. It wasn't quite finished. We had some deficiencies, but it was operating July 1st.
So not even 2 months, or a month and a half. Okay. Councillor Wilbur?
Through you, your chair, to staff, isn't installing potable water just a matter of having another hose? I mean, it's the same water. It's the hose is the issue, that you're using it to flush your sanitation system instead of hooking it up to your tank for your potable water. So isn't it just a matter, I mean, it's not as simple as that, but isn't it just a matter of providing another hose,
Another tap.
another tap?
So through you, Mr.
Duncan.
Chair, correct. So it is a matter of another hose. In some cases, you separate it away from the sanitary hose because you don't want somebody to become confused and stick it into the tank and cross-contaminate that hose, and then goes into somebody's potable system. So sometimes you provide some separation. I know you just mentioned they were in the same location, but we would probably recommend putting it a little farther away so you can't make that mistake.
Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, in Grand Prairie, the Sandy system is in the middle, and then down at the end is the thing with the tap. But generally, you don't provide the hose. We all have hoses in our units in order to do that. I personally wouldn't use a hose that was sitting there. I would get my own hose out and use it. So it's just a matter of having the tap, a little distance away, which in Grand Prairie, it's just on the other end of the unit instead of near the middle where the other business goes on.
I'll go Councillor Wilbur first, please.
Yeah, my other question was, staff had mentioned the donation type system. Is there really any revenue off of that?
So through you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, I don't know what the Mile Zero Park brings forward. Maybe Councillor Carswell knows. I know he's had some discussions about that. It would just be more discouraging anybody filling up at the water sales across 115th from using that system.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Beckoff?
I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've already decided we're not charging for the RV disposal, so I'm not in favor of adding any more costs. The water use there is going to be minimal. All they're doing is filling up RVs, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue.
Yeah, personally, my feelings were, when I first read it, I thought, well, we're getting a cart way out in front of the horse on this one. We haven't even had that facility open for a month and a half. It was a 2-year project that we had gone through. We even went as far as purchasing the land for it. So I'm pretty sure there was a lot of discussion regarding that all the way through. And to be bringing this up now before, a month and a half into it, we don't even know how many people are actually using that facility right now. So there will be other costs if we're planning on just giving the water away. I think that my personal feeling on it was I would have rather have seen a user pay system for it to begin with. But if council's choice is to give away the water, charge for the water, or add water now, I just think that that's just a little bit premature, and maybe wait a year and then have a look at it again. That's just my thing. Councillor Schumann?
I totally disagree with you. Just bring that on the record. It's totally silly to have a site like this and not have potable water available for the people traveling through and to our community.
Councillor Parsons?
The motion was open. It was an open type of motion because I want to see the facts, the cost of any pay system. I tend to lean at it with Councillor Javatkov, and definitely this has to have a potable water outlet. There's no doubt in my mind. But I wanted to know what the options were. I mean, my recollection may be incorrect, but I seem to recall a $30,000 figure was mentioned at some previous meeting. Just, I think, a guesstimate. But I don't want to muddy the waters now. Just, I think we need it. Whether it's pay or contribution or not, I'd like to discuss this when we have the facts, the cost of installation of such a pay system. But I tend to think it should be just part of the hospitality to visitors. The people who've spoken to me were not visitors, they were local residents who found that the access to the one at the Mile Zero Parts location was often crowded, and so we do need another one. And council supported that by purchasing the land, putting this in, and to me it's incomplete without the potable facility. But so my thought is give us some information and cost it out and decide on it later. That's why it wasn't, the word free wasn't put in, and a pay as you go thing wasn't put in. I think we need information to make decisions.
Yeah.
Councillor Wilbur?
So just for clarity then, Councillor Parzo, when you say options, you mean pay versus not pay as being one
What
of
the
those
options are,
options?
it could be a contribution, as was mentioned, it could be a slot machine, as was mentioned at some previous council, which,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm just asking
but
because
I'm just saying I'm tending to favour free.
yes.
Right, but-
The only reason I'm asking, Chair, is so that we're giving clear instructions to
Yeah.
staff on looking at pay
Yeah.
versus.
Yeah.
Well, it's instructing staff to investigate the options and costs of adding potable water dispensing system. So there is no direction in there for investigation of whether they're going to be charging it or not.
So,
There's options. Options means that there's a variety of ways you can go, and I would assume a wise administration would provide us a full range of options, and we have, I'm sure, a wise administrator here.
Duncan, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have enough information, we can bring back a report to council that has those options.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe there was a comment about funding, and that, I believe, would be available through NDIT as a grant. So everybody know. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Schumann?
I have new council business.
Okay, go ahead, thank you.
First of all, I want to congratulate the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association on another fine event, as well as our Rotary clubs for a fabulous parade. Thanks to them for doing that for our community. And I also have a little message that I want to send out to someone. So if, with your indulgence, dear Mr. Pitt, I've always appreciated your contributions to the community, to your engagement in our community. You're always showing up to fundraisers for local groups and arts and cultural events, city consultations. I've appreciated those. I've also been, I've appreciated you coming out to those things. I've also been reading your letters to the editor for years. Sometimes I agree with his letters, Mr. Pitt. Sometimes I agree with your letters. And sometimes I disagree with your letters. Sorry, everyone, I'm going to get emotional. Sorry. So I read your letters, and lots of times I end up defending you. I say things like, well, Mr. Pitt is very engaged in our community. At least he's paying attention and he's participating. And Mr. Pitt, Ed, I thought you had a good heart. But recently, a couple weeks ago, I read a letter that you wrote to our newspaper about our rainbow sidewalk. And Mr. Pitt, you broke my heart. You didn't just hurt me, you hurt friends of mine, and you hurt young people in this community who struggle every day because of people with attitudes like yours. And, sorry, I just want to say that I hope you're not sitting at home right now penning a letter about the horrors in Charlottesville. Because, Mr. Pitt, your words that were in our newspaper are I don't want to be rude. The words that you put out there for everyone to read are just as terrible as what has happened in Charlottesville. You might think they're just words, but they hurt people. And I know that we have free speech in this world and that we can say what we want. But Mr. Pitt, sometimes you just really shouldn't say what you want. I think that, if you're writing this letter about what's happened in Charlottesville, I think that you need to remember that you're right up there with them. You're just the same as these people, because writing these words in our newspaper is just as bad as marching in the name of hate. So I did not like that letter. It hurt people, and I had to get that off my chest today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Can I just follow up with that? Thank you for bringing that up. I know how hard it was. I know I've wanted to say something similar, except not as nice as what you just did. I find that the newspaper, calling them out as well, should have never ever printed that. I read that and I just found it just totally disgusting and unprofessional, and that's my opinion. I don't know how everybody else feels, but it was very disheartening to have to actually read something like that, especially with everything else going on. Councillor Will.
Thank you, Councillor Schumann. And she always makes me emotional, but I've always said that good leaders talk about the great things, but great leaders talk about what's in the shadows. And I think Councillor Schumann just brought that to the forefront. And we're not going to tolerate that in our community. So whether it be that writer or someone else, the Rainbow Sidewalk stays, and we're proud of the youth and the people of our community. So thank you, Councillor Schumann. On another note, our city staff again built a beautiful float for the parade and won first place. So there's some happiness there for the city. So good job on them. As well, the Terry Fox run's coming up September 7th, and I hope to see the community out there, and I hope that they will put it over the top this year and help in that research and continuing Terry's dream. And again, I'm just going to reiterate that I know many of us have had conversations about that letter, and I agree with you as well, Chair. The newspaper never should have written that letter. And let's move on and move forward and be proud of our community, and maybe we just need to paint all the sidewalks rainbow.
Thank you. Any other council business? Councillor Parcel?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly appreciate what Councillor Schumann said, and I don't wish to belabor that point, but being been a welcoming, integrated community. We can't tolerate that sort of thing at all. A reflection of the positive side, I just feel I have to mention the celebration of the culmination of a lot of work of a number of our artists in the Emergence projects. It's beautifully located with the help of city staff at the art gallery. Is already a conversation piece, and it really respects those who've gone before us and looks to the future. And I think it's a piece of public art that not only is a treasure to this community, but it's a treasure to the region. So I want to thank Donna Kane in particular and all the artists who, and this council who supported her, took a risk. Some of you had some doubts about it, but I hope you're all very, very pleased with it. It's certainly, I'm told, visitors are already wanting to look at it and talk about it, so it's certainly an attraction. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business? Okay, moving on. 3.1 minutes from our regular meeting of council for July 17th for adoption. Moved by Councillor McFadden, Councillor Wilbur. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Minutes of special meeting of council from August 8th, 2017 for adoption. Moved by Councillor Wilbur, seconded by Councillor Schumann. All in favor? Carried. Is there any business arising out of those minutes? Okay, let's move on to correspondence. Item number 5.1. Councillor Parslow?
I move that we receive this correspondence and participate in this collaborative emergency management model work that's going to be led by the Peace River Regional District.
Seconded by Councillor Schumann. Discussion? Councillor Javeka?
I was just wondering if this duplicates something that we've already got in the system as far as an emergency management plan.
Through you, Mr.
Doctor,
Chair.
please.
We do have an emergency management plan run through our fire department, through our fire chief. I think this is looking at the opportunity to collaborate and use our resources efficiently. I know also in the agenda we have a group coming in that wants to participate in our emergency management plan, and that might be an opportunity as well to include them.
Okay.
So this is more of a regional function that they're looking at doing, involving several communities in the regional district, and I believe the cost for this is through the regional district, and there's
It's
only a
staff
little bit of
time.
staff time.
100% funded.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Letter from Katie Bridgeton, marketing manager for the co-op, and it's the co-op 100-year legacy project. Councillor Javeka,
Received for information.
seconded by Councillor Parslow. Councillor Schumann?
I just want to say, I hope that everyone gets word of this. What a fabulous opportunity for a group or maybe a couple of groups to do something really incredible in our community. $100,000 is not chump change, and I think something really great can come of it. So thank you to the co-op for providing this opportunity.
Councillor Wilbur?
Through you to Steph, I'm just wondering, is this something that we could be promoting on our Facebook page?
Through you, Mr. Chair. We followed up with the co-op and asked them if we could have this on our agenda, and they said yeah, they had sent out some select some letters to some select groups in the community,
Okay.
but that they were marketing it out
Okay.
and opening that up. So I think they have that, but we could, if council wanted us, we can follow up with them and ask them if you want.
I just thought the more it's out there, then the more groups have the opportunity to apply, that's all.
Yeah, it's gonna have to happen pretty quick because I believe it closes December the 12th.
Yeah.
Something like that. I guess we have to vote on this? No?
Yep.
For information, we need
For
to vote.
information.
For information, call the question. Anybody opposed? Carried. I have item 5.3, letter from Arlene Thorpe, show Chairman Kiwanis Trade Show, request for confirmation and support. Councillor Parslow?
I move that we accede to this request of supporting the Kiwanis Club having its 2018, I'm going to call it the
It's
Home and Garden Show at the Encounter Event Centre with the same level of financial support.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Any further discussion? Councillor Wilbur?
Through you to staff, so that's the $7,000, that would be the amount that we supported them?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll just confirm with Shelley, but I believe so.
Through you.
That's our grant in the
That's correct.
past.
Councillor Wilbur?
I would just like, if Councillor Parslow doesn't mind, to a maximum of the $7,000, so
On
that
the
they,
same basis as the
Yeah.
past year.
to,
Yeah, so basically they're gonna get the same amount of money, they're just gonna be moving the event over to the,
yeah, I get that, I just would like to have that maximum of $7,000, given there could be some price difference. I don't want to see it keep coming back for more and more and more, that if we granted them $7,000, that we maximize that support to $7,000.
okay. Councillor Rebecca?
So previously, because they were in our facilities, it was an in-kind 7,000, it wasn't an actual payout. So what we're gonna do now is put it in the budget and actually pay it out, or is this, will it be one of the events that we have access to without fees?
Duncan, yes?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I'll ask Shelley to talk about the process on that grant.
Yeah, through your, Mr. Chair, yeah, we actually paid them a check for $7,000 and they were charged rent and did their event and had some city staff support, but the check was actually issued to the,
The check was issued so they could pay us back?
that's right. Yeah, because the fees at the arena change annually, so the actual approval by council was $7,000 at the time that it was made.
Okay.
Duncan, you got anything further?
Just through you, Mr. Chair, and we do have uses at the event center, as Councillor Javakov has noted. We had two a year. One is used for grad. We've used the other event for conferences and other opportunities. We can look at that in the future, but staff wouldn't recommend tying up that second use in case something comes forward the council would like to do in the future.
Councillor Rebecca?
Have we used that second opportunity every year?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not every year, but I believe the last time would have been through the
NCLG conference?
Yeah, so we have used it occasionally, but not consistently.
So would we consider using it for this then?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we can look at it when that time comes and see
Okay.
if council's made any other plans for that use, but it is an option.
Okay.
I think it was a recommendation from staff that we just give them the money for this year, and they're looking at seeing how the event would go at the at changing venue to the EEC. So I think it's probably best just to leave it the way it is right now. What they're asking for. So we're all clear on the motion on this one. That we're just going to give them the money that they've received annually, anyways, to a maximum of 7,000. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 5.4, letter from Kim Pilkington. It's the Protocol and Events Coordinator, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. It's regarding the stop of interest sign request. Councillor Parslow?
I move that council accede to this request to locate a stop of interest sign within the city and direct Tim Pilkington to liaise with staff concerning suitable location.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? Councillor Parslow?
I think these signs are very interesting and informative, and looking at the text here, it's succinct and adds to the stoppability in the town. So I support it.
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, well, this is great, and then I thought, okay, where are you going to put it? And I went down to the mile zero, or not to the mile zero, over to the Karen, and looked at all of the plaques that are already there, and I'm going, holy cow, we're going to add another one to it. And my only thought was to move it, have it closer towards where the stairs walkway goes up to the visitor center. I just looked at, that might be an opportunity there, and I believe that that's where the trencher was originally supposed to go, and then it got moved over somewhere else. So there's probably going to be a lot of further discussion regarding all of this, but I think it's great that we're actually going to have something that's from the provincial government that's pointing out a spot of interest. Any other comments? Yeah,
Well,
Mr.
just
Parslow?
my motion is to allow staff to deal with
Yeah.
this. I wouldn't want this coming back to a future. I'm pleased to have this, and let staff decide.
Let staff decide?
Yes.
Okay. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Delegations.
5.5, letter from Connie Patterson, Dawson Creek Exhibition Association, request from Midwest Pipelines for camping on the exhibition grounds. Councillor Dvetkov.
I'll move that we approve the request and that any donation made by Midwest goes to the Exhibition Association.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor McFadden. Discussion. Councillor Schumann.
First of all, I'm surprised that the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association was the one asked for permission to do this, considering it is our property. Also, if we say yes to this, we are saying yes to a work camp basically in town. And so I know that there are some that want to have this conversation in the future about what we're going to do about work camps within our boundaries. But I need some convincing of how this would be a good thing.
Councillor Dvetkov.
Yeah,
Then Councillor Wilbur.
this isn't actually a work camp. It's more of an RV park.
Yeah.
The RV parks are all full. There are no work camps. The motels are full. There's no accommodation. So, and this is basically a 6-week requirement, not even that. So, you know, the idea is that they use this site for parking RVs, Midland, you know, would provide the utilities. They'd provide the sewer disposal and the water and all of that stuff. So, and garbage handling. So it's basically giving the company a means to house their people, the ones that have RVs, the ones that live in RVs. So I don't see it as a big imposition. It's not an official RV park. There are no services, so the fee, I mean, you know, we often allow, you know, the swimming club to have RVs in Canna Center. We allow people associated with the Kinsman Trade Show to have RVs over there. It's not much different than that, other than it's a bit longer term. So I see it as a way to accommodate, you know, a short-term need that industry has here. So
Okay, I kind of have a feeling that we're due for delegations here, and maybe I should have just waited on this one, but I have a feeling there's going to be more of the discussion on this. Is it okay if we go and have our delegations and then come back to this?
I agree.
Everybody all right with that? Yeah, go ahead,
You,
Brent.
Mr. Chair, just a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion to table, that would be Councillor Wilbur, Councillor Schumann. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Delegations, we have Joyce Moyer, Jackie Thiessen, and it's Work BC Search and Support Services in attendance regarding Disability Employment Proclamation, which I have here. Do you want me to read it first, and then you guys want to talk, or?
That would be great.
Okay,
Is that-
come on up here, I guess, and I'll try to read this as best as I can. Welcome.
It's
Thank you
kind
for
of
coming.
dyslexic.
Thank you for coming. Whereas hiring people with disabilities provides a mutual benefit for employers, employees, and communities across the province, including Dawson Creek and area. And whereas building connections and helping people with disabilities find work is our goal, while raising awareness within the community, including the general public, community partners, businesses, and not-for-profit groups and organizations. And whereas we recognize that people with disabilities make great employees, and it is proven that businesses experience fewer turnovers when they invest in a person with disabilities, as they typically have higher rates of retention and are 5 times more likely to stay on the job than people who do not have a disability. Now therefore, I do hereby proclaim September 2017 as the month for raising awareness in creating jobs for all of our citizens, known as Disability Employment Month in Dawson Creek. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We would also like to take this opportunity to let you all know that we are hosting our 3rd annual Disability Employment event at the Encana Event Center on Wednesday, September 13th. It's going to be an employer recognition luncheon and employment fair. Our hope is to celebrate and also recognize our local employers. This event is for all employers, whether or not they have experience hiring and supporting employees with disabilities, are looking to meet recruiting demands, or just an opportunity to connect with the community and get information about their services out to the public. The event is free, and it's going to include a 1-hour professional development workshop with guest speaker Chris Arnold. Our hopes at this time are to provide a short training session for employers focusing on supporting employees with disabilities, followed by the luncheon and employment and information fair open to the public.
Any questions or? Okay, well, thanks very much, you guys, again, for
Thank you.
supporting us.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in again. So next up on our delegations, Lindsay Heel and Jeremy Parslow. Recycle It, Resource Recovery, and Dawson Creek Recycling in attendance, implementing curbside recycling collection in Dawson Creek. Hey guys, welcome.
Good morning.
The floor is yours.
Perfect. So we're here today to talk curbside recycling. So I know there's been rumblings about curbside, and you guys have some concerns about implementing it. So basically, we're here to answer any of your questions, get some feedback on things you would like to see, and go from there.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that the residents definitely want this, and we would love to be a part of it. And it'll create a few more jobs and allow for us to expand. And I think it would just be a positive step forward for the city. And if there's any challenges that we're going to be facing, I think we could find solutions to those and make everyone happy.
Councillor Schumann.
Thanks for coming, you guys. Can you explain to council your understanding of how the new deal is working with the regional district and how that you guys are subcontracted to the contractor who is looking after the curbside recycling for the regional district? Could you explain to council how regional district takes care of post-collection, and that would be through you as a subcontractor to that contractor that got that big lump contract? Could you elaborate on that?
Do you want me to? So essentially, I am the owner of Recycle It, and we are the contractor for the regional district. So we're in charge of all the post-processing for curbside recycling throughout the whole regional district, as well as dealing with our local partners. So Jeremy is one of the local partners, as is Chetwynd Recycling in Chetwynd. So basically, those local partners collect the material, they do all of the processing, and then we pay them for that, and then we bill the regional district. So essentially what Recycle It does, we're just the overseers of it. We deal with the material in Fort St. John, but the other municipalities are dealt with by the local partners. So it's a fairly straightforward process. All of the post processing for the curbside materials is all paid for through the regional district. So if you were to set up a curbside program in Dawson Creek, that would be covered under the regional district contract. So there would be no added charge for that. The biggest issue for you guys, I guess, is the bins, the capital cost of purchasing new bins. And for any curbside program, that is a huge expense. So there's a few things we've been throwing around, how to get those costs down. One thing I noticed is you guys are paying quite a bit for the collection of your waste, between $12 and $16. I think it was $12 and it was bumped up $4. Many other municipalities are paying substantially less. Fort St. John is paying $6 per month, so that's quite a bit less than what you're paying. Taylor just recently retendered their contract, and with manual collection they're paying $8.55, and once they convert to automated collection, which their plans are right away, they'll be paying $6.82. So when you compare that to your current $12 to $16, there might be some room there to negotiate with your collection contractor, and in turn use that money to purchase bins. So might be something to take a look at. Other than that, over the long term, for taxpayers, people want this service. That's one of the biggest things we hear. Our phone rings off the hook, and as does Jeremy's. Why don't we have curbside recycling? All of the other municipalities are working towards that. Chetwynd is currently doing a pilot project for recycling, so they're kind of, getting a little bit closer. And Fort St. John's been actively doing it for the past couple of years, and their diversion has increased dramatically because of that. It's all well and good to have a user pay system. Jeremy does offer the service where people can subscribe to have their recycling picked up, but right now it's only about 1% of the homes in Dawson Creek that subscribe to that. And in Fort St. John, they also had a user pay system prior to the curbside being in place, and at the peak there was a 7% participation rate. But now, since curbside has been implemented, you drive down any city street on collection day, everyone has their blue bin out. I would say the participation rate is closer to 80 to 90%. So it's amazing with people, if they have to pay up front and pay out of their own pocket, it's a lot harder for them to do when it versus when it's incorporated into their taxes. And it's a psychological thing. I can't really explain it, but you know, if people had to pay versus if it's included in their taxes, the participation rate is going to be dramatically higher when it's just part of the system.
Councillor Schumann?
So in our system, it's not included within taxes, it's included on our bi-monthly utility bills.
Okay.
But regardless, it's a user fee that would be implemented.
Right.
So DC Recycling, they are the contractor for MMBC or BC Recycles. Right now, you have a contract with them for the depot. Will you continue to have that contract, or does that go away once we get to have our curbside recycling?
We have a contract for processing materials for them.
Yeah?
But we no longer have a contract for collecting on their behalf. So.
Okay. That was just interesting. Of course, you know that we've been trying, some of us have been trying to get this to happen since 2013, and you know, we were almost there in 2013, almost, and then something happened and it went away. But yeah, I'm really happy to have you guys here today, and I hope that council has heard about the post-collection being covered through regional district, and that the next time we have this conversation, they might be more receptive to the idea.
Councillor McFadden?
Good morning, Jeremy. In addition to the cost of the bins, what would be the cost to the homeowner to have this service implemented?
Just had all that information.
Well, ideally, you want to alternate weeks. So one week, collection of your garbage, the other week, collection of your recycling. I know there is some issues surrounding the size of your current garbage containers. They may need to be replaced. If you look at it from the long-term perspective, yes, there is a capital cost of replacing those carts, but the cost of the collection and having a truck go around that extra time is probably going to add up and end up being substantially more than what the capital cost of the containers would be. So in Fort St. John, they're using 240-liter carts for garbage, and they're using 360-liter carts for recycling on alternating weeks. That system, it works extremely well. I know there was some concerns with, you know, the smell of garbage and not having it picked up every week, what have you, but we've been running that program for a couple of years now, and honestly, unless you actually lift the lid of your bin to put something into your garbage container, there is no smell. I walk by mine every day, there's no smell, even in the middle of summer. So that would be the best bet. I know it's hard when you've spent this money to buy these containers. The containers that you currently have are 180 liters, so those ones are normally used for composting collection. So if you at a later date decided to implement composting, you could always use those bins for that purpose. Or you could give people the option, because for people like me, I don't fill my 240 liter bin every 2 weeks. I only put mine out once a month. So some people are going to need the larger bin, others are not. So maybe give people the option, and offer that larger size. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a recycler, everybody knows that, and a composter, everybody knows that too. My garbage goes out to the road every 3 weeks or so. I, myself, could not see ever filling a 240 liter container with garbage. I might need 2 of the blue recycle bins because, it all goes in there. But for me, I feel like it's worth a try to do a bi-weekly, garbage 1 week, recycling the next, and to at least try with our carts that we have now, the 180 liters, because I know that I recycle, My garbage bin is never, in fact, my garbage bin is mostly full of kitty litter, to be honest. And I think that if we were to move to that option where we do bi-weekly, that I would feel the better option would be to just offer the larger ones, for a cost, of course, to people who need to have the larger ones. We've seen the cost of this over and over and over again, Mr. McFadden. It's come to us several times, especially just in the budget where, of course, I was pushing hard for curbside recycling. We've seen all those numbers, and we chose not to do it. And we even went as far to choose not to increase our garbage rates. We just took that out of our general revenue and paid it for everyone. So, you know, they didn't see an increase to their garbage bills. Yeah, that's...
Councillor Javetkov?
I got two questions. You mentioned that the majority of people in town want curbside recycling. So have you marketed the user pay system to them? Or, like, I'm just wondering, you know, if they want curbside recycling and there is an option available, are they aware of it? Have you marketed it to them?
Yeah.
Or do they not want it that bad?
We've marketed it, but not to not like a citywide push. And like I say, we've had very little respondents to it. I'm not sure what.
So I just don't understand, you know, if the people want it and it's available, why they're not subscribing to it. So my second question is, when we changed our waste management system here to these bins, the modern bins, which I really like now.
Good.
Waste Management agreed to pay the capital cost on that. So has there been any thought about you guys picking up the cost of the blue bins?
Ouch.
Or whatever bin you use? As a long-term investment, because, you know, if you're going to subscribe all of the people in town, that's quite a substantial revenue stream. So over the long term, is it possible to write that off?
I wouldn't think that would be an option for this program.
Yeah, normally with municipal collection programs, normally it's covered by the municipality. There is, you know, maintenance involved with the bins, replacing the wheels, you know, if the lids break, what have you. So normally the garbage and the recycling carts are always supplied by the municipality, and then we're paid to actually do the processing, so do the sorting and you know, deal with the contaminants and stuff like that.
Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, and we do have options with regards to getting funding for those carts. I know that the gas tax is available to be so that we can apply for the carts, and we have options. I mean, before we decided to pay for the extra cost of the garbage instead of charging residents, I mean, there was money in that fund that we could have used towards it also. It's not a matter, in my view, of the money that it costs. It's a matter of getting council to agree that we need to do it. And so I, again, thank you for coming in today.
Thanks again. That's about all the time we got. We could probably sit here and talk about this all day. I know I have a few more.
I could.
We could.
I have a few more questions, but I'm pretty sure Councillor Schumann or Wilbur will be able to answer them for me.
McFadden's kicking me. I decided.
Thank you for coming in.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys.
Next up, item 6.3, Martha Funk, Dawson Creek Child and Youth Mental Health and Substance for the
That team.
Lot.
local action team in attendance, requesting a link on the city's website page and a letter of support. and you want me out of here.
Unless you want us to
Outta
watch
here.
it go to your face.
I thought it was an eclipse.
Oh, we get that. I was like, is he in conflict? What's the
I don't
problem? Does he have to leave? What's the deal?
Good morning, everyone.
Martha.
Good to see everyone. I brought a PowerPoint today just to explain a little bit about the Dawson Creek Child and Youth Mental Health and Substance Use Collaborative. I'm the project lead, and we got started on this project quite a while back. It would have been December of 2015. Cindy Kadzioka, the local practice support coach for Dawson Creek, put Dawson Creek's name forward to be a part of the collaborative that was happening all over BC. The provincial government identified that children and youth were struggling. They were struggling to use the system that was currently in place to deal with mental health issues and substance use issues. And as a result, the collaborative was formed. The North got involved kind of at the end of the collaborative. We've had a short timeline to do the work that was put before us, and we tried to include everyone. In order to be a part of the collaborative, we had to have a physician champion, and our physician champion is Dr. Meyer. And we're so thankful that she was willing to come on board, because in order for us to do this, we needed her to be a part of it. We wanted to engage with youth and families because they had lived experience in regards to using the systems there. We also wanted to engage with health authorities, the education system, really all parts of the community. And we wanted to deal with some deliverables, and that was so that children and youth could get timely access to services, and that there was a system design that was looked at, because everyone had identified that the system wasn't working in such a way that people could get the service they needed, but they didn't know exactly how to change that. So the main frame was having the family first, having it people-centered, and having the youth and families to have a voice in this redesign. And our local action team, we had Val Tregellis from the Doctors of BC come to Dawson Creek, make the proposition to the service providers in Dawson Creek. Was this something that we wanted to do? And unanimously, we had a huge room of service providers, and everyone was on board. We were really thankful that we could get some co-chairs to sign on and start this project. We started with 7 co-chairs, and now we're at 4 co-chairs. Louise Rogers, she's the team lead for Child and Youth Mental Health. Isaac Hernandez, he's the executive director from Northwinds Wellness Center. Cheryl Hendy, she's with the Mizpah Transition House, and Kate Fitch, who's a clinician with the Child and Youth Mental Health. They are our co-chairs, and they oversee the work that we do. At this point, we have about 86 to 132 service providers, youth, caregivers on our action team, and regularly we try to meet once a month, although over the summer we have been breaking. So when we first started this project, we wanted to assess the community's needs, and so we decided we were going to do that by having some photo booths and surveys. So we surveyed the community, we surveyed youth, we surveyed caregivers with young children, caregivers with elder children. We also surveyed service providers, school district staff, teachers, and administration. And in order to get this, we had photo booths all around Dawson Creek. And so you probably didn't remember this happening this summer. It would have happened last May, June, and July. And so we had almost 500 surveys completed. And from these surveys, we determined the need for Dawson Creek. So we wanted to at least have an idea and have some direction in regards to the work that we did. So we were really happy with the data that we collected. And I won't necessarily go into the data that we did collect, but if there's anyone that's planning on doing a child and youth activity or service, we could provide that data for them in regards to helping them bring forward ideas for children and youth. children and youth, they knew what mental health was, and they knew what they needed in order to have good mental health. And this kind of went all across the board, from being at home, being at school, what they needed in community. I'm just quickly going through these slides, but if you're interested in seeing these stats, they really knew what they needed in order to have good mental health.
All of this is in our agenda.
Right,
Yeah.
so you have it. And they also identified what areas they were struggling. A lot of them were struggling with schoolwork and concerns about their identity and a lot of different things. And we proposed a few ideas in regards to what could we do to make life easier for youth. And as you see, we proposed a few different things, a medical clinic, activities, and different ideas. And the youth were then choosing what it was that they thought would be helpful for them. So from there, we also approached service providers. We approached service providers to come up with ideas and bring forward ideas how we could get rid of stigma in regards to child and youth mental health, or mental health in general, and how we could bring forward the needs of the community. So we asked Dixie Kodalak, her art class at South Peace, to do some artwork, and we used some coloring books and we used some journals to just raise awareness in regards to this issue. So we were really thankful that we had those, and they are available in the community. We also partnered with Access to provide a parent wellness event, and this was something that we really identified that parents experience a lot of stress if their child's experiencing a mental health issue, and they really need that support. And we partnered with Access to provide a wellness event, and this is something that we really identified that parents need that support, not just parents and families need that support, not just children and youth. We put on some child-parent relationship training in conjunction with the Child and Youth Mental Health, and this was really well received. In this activity, we provided some extras that normally wouldn't have been provided, such as refreshments, and it was a training that was very useful. We also wanted to create a more awareness around the community, and last July we put on the Fun in the Sun event, and over 600 people attended this event. We wanted to raise awareness once again around mental health, around stigma, and it was really a community event. We partnered with the Dawson Creek Harm Reduction Committee to bring it forward, and we were so thankful that the City of Dawson Creek also provided a water station for the event. And it was fun. Fun was really had by all, and as you can see, we thought we had to thank a lot of people because the entire community contributed to this event, and we were really thankful for that. It was a water station, bouncy castles, helium balloons, games. Everything was free, and we just wanted families and youth to know that we cared about them. We also partnered with Northern Lights College. This was last October in regards to bringing forward a Beyond the Blues event. This is an education and screening day, and we invited the community to attend and be a part of it. A lot of people experience mental health challenges, but not necessarily a lot of people in the community come in contact with the services. So this was an event where we tried to bring services to the community so that screening could happen, as well as they could come to learn about the services that were offered in the community. This was a great event, and we hope to make this an annual event. One of the things that we try to do with all of the activities that we've done with the collaborative is we're trying to make them sustainable, something that stays within the community and continues to help the community. And that's not necessarily just a one-time thing. And so with the Beyond the Blues, that's definitely what we did. We also brought forward Corey Reed, who is a youth advocate. He came and spoke in regards to his lived experience around substance use and his use of the mental health, child and youth mental health system, substance use system, and he also spoke to us about the Langley Youth Wraparound Clinic. This is a clinic that was put together by Langley to support youth in one place so that the youth could come to one place and get all the services they needed. We invited Corey Reed because we also wanted to explore the idea of having a wraparound clinic in Dawson Creek. If any of you are without a vehicle, you can totally understand, even if you're getting around by bus or say a bicycle, it's hard to get, say for example, from the hospital if you're going to mental health and addictions to say the child and youth mental health clinic. There's a long distance there, and then say if you're also going to school. So we realized that youth don't have the ability to get around, and so we wanted to explore, would a wraparound clinic be really useful? Could we do it? Could we bring it forward? And so from bringing Corey, we also had a stakeholders meeting, and we had over 21 stakeholders attend the meeting and explore this idea. And we've been exploring this idea since December. And we're continuing to do that because we really think it would be useful to the community.
So what it is you're talking about taking all of the services that are provided around the community and bringing it all into one house?
Correct. Correct. Because currently, if you even just say look at mental health for children and youth and substance use services for children and youth are being provided by Northern Health. Out of the health unit building. If you're dealing specifically with a mental health issue, then you're getting services at the Child and Youth Mental Health Building, which is downtown across from the bowling alley. So, we're trying to, even if we just look at those two services, we identified that bringing them together would be really useful. Yeah, thanks for the question. We also
kind of wrap things up.
Okay, so we also had a gender and identity workshop, and we had over 550 students attend. We identified that there was such a need in the community in regards to this. We put forward the Arts for Wellness Fund. This is a fund where youth that can't get a part of Kids Sport or Jumpstart can get funds for arts programs, which in the community they didn't have before. We also train service providers around trauma-informed practice, and we also brought forward Stigma Free with Andrea Paquette. She came to our community and presented to the youth. We also brought the Child Sexual Abuse Prevention Kit to the community in regards to the Teach Retells program, as well as DVD videos for service providers and family. And we also brought Safe Talk training to youth. We had 69 students take the Safe Talk training. This is a program where they learn how to speak with their friends about suicide prevention and depression and mental health challenges. So we also, in the work that we've done, we've put together a web page. It's called DawsonCreekYouth.ca. And this is a one-stop shop for resources in regards to mental wellness. We are requesting a link on the City of Dawson Creek webpage because we identified that when people come to Dawson Creek, the first thing they do usually is get on the web and come onto your website. So just to explain the webpage provides all the service providers in Dawson Creek. It provides that searchable directory, but it also provides all the online services that youth can access to support their own mental wellness. So we're hoping that the City of Dawson Creek feels that this is a good resource and that the front page might be an appropriate place for it. So just to come to the end, the two requests that I have is that you would consider putting our webpage on, like a button on the front page of your website, and that we also could possibly get a letter of support from council in regards to moving ahead with the wraparound clinic for youth for our community.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you and the team and all of the people that are doing these good works in our community. I know our family has had some issues with one of our young ones, and sometimes it can be really difficult to find your way in this community. And you talk about the support for the families as well, and we certainly found that support, and so thank you for all of the hard work that you guys do around this.
And we'll be bringing your requests up in Mayor's business near the end of the meeting. Let you know how it goes.
Thank you.
Anybody
Is there
else?
any other questions?
I just want to say thank you to Martha because I know when they brought her onto the team and she's really taken that plan and ran with it and built it. And thank you for building all those bridges because that was where we were lacking and you have successfully done that. So congratulations.
Thank you for coming. Okay, now I'm gonna print this. I get to see the
You're the
eclipse.
eclipse.
Yeah. What time was the eclipse at?
10 something, isn't
It's
it?
over.
Isn't it just gonna get dark out?
We missed it.
You missed it.
Isn't it just gonna get dark for a
gonna get
second
dark.
or something?
Okay, 6.4, I believe we're at.
Don't we have another delegation?
Oh, sorry.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. 6.4. Am I wrong or right?
Nope.
Oh,
right.
yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Sorry.
You got me second guessing myself. Thanks.
I thought
Cheryl.
we were moving on to where we left off.
Yeah. 6.4, Anthony Stark, South Peace. Search and Rescue is in attendance and requesting South Peace Search and Rescue be used for additional manpower and equipment-based operation as part of Dawson Creek's emergency response plan. Anthony, have a chair, please.
I apologize, Anthony could not actually make it this morning, so I took over the presentation for him. I am the president of the association. We actually have booklets here for everyone too. Just give a moment here to hand these out.
Thanks very much.
What was your name?
Delbert Galinsky.
Delbert
Southeast
Galinsky.
Search and Rescue. I'm also the president of Southeast Response Team.
And we have the PowerPoint presentation? Okay,
Thank you.
we can put this up, I guess, yeah.
Thank you.
You want me to get that? Sorry. I jumped the gun. Go ahead, you got like
Awesome.
10 minutes.
So good morning, good morning, councilors, administration officers. Hopefully you guys don't mind if I stand. I like to be a little
I'm
bit
comfortable standing too,
So, awesome, thank you very much. Once again, I did introduce myself, I'll introduce myself again. I am Delbert Galinsky, President of Southeast Emergency Response Team, registered nonprofit organization, also a proud member of the Southeast Search and Rescue Team. Who is Southeast Search and Rescue? We are a team, a volunteer community organization that has served in Dawson Creek for greater than 10 years. We are members of the BC SARA organization, which is a Search and Rescue Association, working underneath the direction of EMBC, Emergency Management of British Columbia. As part of the EMBC protocols, us as South Peace Search and Rescue can be activated by Dawson Creek's Emergency Program Coordinator for municipal emergency needs, as well as mentioned by Administrative Officer Redford. We also can help out in many other ways within the city. Objectives as a team are to provide effective professional assistance to those in imminent danger and distress within the South Peace, including Dawson Creek. To support our first responders and city officials in emergency situations such as the RCMP, Fire Hall, BCAS, Coroner Service, local governments, and Parks Canada. In rescue, recovery, in remote and/or technical emergency situations. Including establishing, supervising emergency shelters, delivering emergency evacuation orders, and disaster management systems. To educate local residents on wilderness awareness, safe practices, and survival techniques. We are also volunteers within our own organization, but we also volunteer as a team to several other organizations in our community and surrounding areas. We, South Peace Search and Rescue, could also be called upon by your city emergency program coordinator in the program coordinator. This is actually part of our mandate to serve our communities. Here is a couple of charts right here. that show the flow on which we can actually be utilized. How they break down provincially, this actually starts at a federal level and breaks it down to a provincial level. And then this next one here is a breakdown on where we can be utilized within the structure and how we can be utilized. Services that we are trained for as EMBC first responders are not only for provincial or regional situations, but also at municipal level. We are a quickly mobilized, completely prepared ground force of approximately 30 members, equipped with survival, rescue, first aid, and radio communications equipment. As part of a constant training and practical exercises, we can deploy for a variety of emergency evacuation and rescue operations, always increasing our speed of deployment and efficiency of operations. Some of our members have or also served in the first responder roles within Dawson Creek and surrounding communities, such as the RCMP, Fire Hall, and BCS members. This also helps us organize deployment and decrease our turnaround time. The equipment we have and train with include radios, VHF and UHF, boosters, transmitters, UTV with stretcher capabilities, ATVs with 4 seasons capabilities, generators, 20-foot enclosed trailers. We also have 2 search rescue vehicles, all fully equipped. We also have, sorry, I lost my capabilities of onboard power hub, rescue relief equipment for carrying abilities. We also have complete first aid equipment for treatment up to a primary care level. Current maps of Dawson Creek surrounding area with analog and digital GPS backups, as well as orientating capabilities. We are also in the process of establishing and acquiring a 60 gallons of water with filtration station for replenishment to not only assist us on events that we hold within our city, but also with us in the field. We have 5 EMR level trained attendants, which is also equivalent to the average BCS attendant. In 2018, we will also have 2 members that are at a primary care paramedic level, which is the next level proceeding after the EMR level. We have 4 members that are also part of the Pooskoopi Fire Hall within the community structure as well. We have members trained with ATV and UTV use, chainsaw safety, wilderness first aid, helicopter staging and safety, and also tracking capabilities. First and foremost, our team, Southeast Search and Rescue, is dedicated to the prevention and awareness. So although we are prepared to respond to any urgent situation, we spend most of our time in prevention. Our members are also trained in various different disciplines, including first aid levels, levels 1 as a basic, and some of our members are also trained to a level 3 capability with wilderness first aid backup. We are also GSR trained, which is ground search and rescue, which is a training that is provided through JIBC. EMBC management of SAR operations. We are also a part of the Adventure Smart program, including the Huggy Tree program, which we do actually have members that are trained to instruct these programs. Emergency radio communications, swift water awareness, UTV and ATV safety, chainsaw safety. We also have Joel Harden's tracking capabilities. Here's a slide here that shows, and also on page 6, I do believe in the handbook there, there's another list of other events that we help with in our community. Listed here, of course, is the Ultimate Night Out, Sweetwater Festival, the Summer Cruise, Dawson Creek Music Festival, and also we will assist the school district 59 on similar events. We also want to further engage. Okay, sorry, skip my page here. these are some of the organizations that we actually support and continue to do so in the future. In just a few minutes that I just had here, I was hoping I was able to portray what we are as a team and how we can come forward to you guys. But I'm not here just about today, I'm actually here about tomorrow. So we want to engage further with our city, the city of Dawson Creek, to increase familiarity with their city officials, of our capabilities, that we can offer our skills, experience, and volunteer resources in unforeseen events. We can also be used for searches, sweeps, evacuation alert distribution, evacuation assistance, emergency shelter preparation, and manning. EMBC expects South Peace Search and Rescue, or any search and rescue team, to be utilized in case of local emergency to assist with evacuating of neighborhoods and individuals.
So when we had our recent floods, were you involved with that?
We were not. We were actually not even contacted in regards to that. That is kind of the reason why we are bringing up this. To go a little bit further, that we are actually contacted by the village of Hudson Hope to assist in their evacuations outside of our city. So moving on, we would like to engage further with the city of Dawson Creek, not only to increase familiarity with their city officials, but also our capabilities. We can also offer our skills, experience, and volunteer resources in unforeseen events. We can also be used for searches, sweeps, evacuations, alert distribution, evacuation assistance. As part of the city's emergency plan, we, South Peace Search and Rescue, are listed as the provider of the city of Dawson Creek's radio and communication resources. We have also taken great strides to improve deployment capabilities and keep our equipment current. With the city's help, we would also like to acquire a fully functioning command trailer with its own self-powered repeater system. Also, to protect our assets, we would like to request the city's assistance in the procurement of a permanent, secure building. So going on to a command trailer. A command trailer and what its essential part of an emergency management system. When utilized in a municipal emergency coordination, it can become an asset for city officials, RCMP, fire hall, and other liaison groups. Providing power, shelter, discrete meeting and planning stations that can be easily relocated. Command trailers also have storage facilities for maps, papers, forms, and supplies, providing 24-hour, 7-day access to planning and power resources. Radio communications that we have actually recently upgraded with antennas aiding in our remote capabilities. We have a standalone system that we can remotely place upon any hillside, mountain, outside of standard vehicle access. We also like the city to assist us in the purchase of a fully functioning extendable radio transmission tower unit. This system will allow communications in built-up areas that restrict radio communications. The system has its own diesel generator, allowing reliable long-term communications. With this transmission tower and command trailer, we would also be able to be hardwired to existing telecommunications, such as Telus and Shaw.
Are we getting close?
We are getting close, you are correct.
I think we want to ask questions too.
Yes, I've got this.
Okay.
I've been timing this, so. In the near future, we would like to provide a larger facility that we've actually outgrown. In the future, we'd like to procure a larger facility. We have actually outgrown the space the Peace River Regional District has graciously donated to us at no cost. Our growth in membership and assets has forced us to look for a larger, secure property within the city limits. Right now, our larger assets are parked at various members' houses for security purposes. NORCAM has allowed us to park one truck and trailer at their establishment for no charge. But once again, security is an issue. If the city could consider buildings that have been idle for some time, including buildings under city care, the city could help with property taxes, water, sewer, be considered as a donation support to our registered nonprofit organization. The city could also assist South Peace Search and Rescue to purchase an existing building structure with negotiations and/or providing a lump sum donation for a down payment. This will allow South Peace Search and Rescue not only to better our training and responsibilities, but also provide training and learning abilities to city officials, citizens, and students of Dawson Creek. By promoting training, we promote a population prepared for the unexpected and to increase awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for everything that you do. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
So, you say right now the PRRD has provided you with space, so how else are you guys funded, just so everybody knows?
We are primarily funded through Peace River Regional District. That is where our funding, any other funding that we do, any major capital investments that we do, we fundraise through a lot of those organizations that I shown a slide there earlier about. They've been gracious to help us in a variety of different ways. So yeah.
As you went through, you had a whole bunch more asks than what I was given.
Okay.
So the main ask that I believe you have is, can you read that for me, Mr. Carson? That,
Okay,
sorry.
the South Peace Search and Rescue be used for additional manpower
Yes.
Yeah.
and equipment-based operations as part of Dawson Creek's emergency management plan.
Yeah, because we'll talk about that, we'll discuss that near the end of the meeting.
Yes.
But you were also talking about possibly permissive tax exemptions, is what I heard in
Yes.
there, and possibly buildings and stuff like that. Do you want us to discuss that, I guess?
You know what, you guys can discuss that on your time. This is a presentation to bring brought forward that we are actually looking to expand, and we're willing to see if, or we're wanting to see if the city would be willing to assist us in procurement of some of these facilities or assets. Whatever you guys are willing to assist us with, we are willing to help and assist with as well on our part. This is kind of a starting line for us. Like I said, Peace River Regional District has been gracious to donate a small corner of their maintenance building for us, but it gives us actually nowhere to park any of our equipment. So,
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Comments? Mr. Duratko?
I just wondered how active you've been as far as call-outs and that type of thing.
this year actually has been our least active year that we've had, which is kind of a pro to our being proactive out there in the community. But on the average, we do 6 to 11 on the average year. Searches, rescues, or recoveries. So yes, any other questions?
Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you guys.
And we will consider it at the end of the meeting and later business. So later on this afternoon.
You betcha.
This afternoon.
The way it's going.
The way it's going.
We have a break now, please.
Sorry?
We need a break now, please.
Oh. Councilor Schumann says she needs a break. Everybody need a break?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a motion to adjourn?
No.
We don't need that? Not yet? We can just take a break?
We're
Recess.
gonna recess
Recess?
for 7 minutes.
Okay, 7-minute recess.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
We left off with a motion to allow the camping on the exhibition grounds. And I think the last person that was speaking was Councillor Javetkov, in favor of that. What do I have to do?
Just a motion to lift it from the table.
Oh,
Continue
sorry.
discussion.
Councillor McFadden, Councillor Wilbur, to take the motion off the table. Thank you. So back to the discussion. Duncan, please.
So through you, Mr. Chair, just regarding this topic, so temporary living or RV or work camp, whatever this is not a permitted use in that zone. It's an exhibition park. And I'll just get Kevin to talk about the zoning in there and the difference between the fall fair camping and what the request is in front of us today.
Go ahead, Kevin, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The exhibition grounds has a specific zone that is just that, exhibition grounds, so it allows uses which are basically stem around the event. So racetrack, fairground, stables, museum, community center, concession stand, farmers market, community garden. So the camping that comes along with the fairgrounds is kind of an ancillary that would be considered to be part of the event. So a standalone RV park, work camp, whatever you want to call it, is not really permitted use. So something that council needs to be aware of is that council cannot vary a bylaw. They cannot, through a motion, allow a use. The only way that you could do this, if council desires it, is to go through a process such as a temporary use permit, which allows for public consultation and input, and it comes back to council. Council needs to be very careful as they go through this and discuss it, that they do not appear to have a preconceived decision on this matter.
Oops. Whoopsie.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
On that, through you to staff, is there then a temporary use permit put in place, so say for Fall Fair, but there's camping on the County Event Center grounds, so there's pay per day usage along the highway, and then also I'm thinking, as Councillor Javetkov had mentioned, for other events that we have at the pool and stuff, we allow camping. So what is the difference there?
Duncan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, there's a different zone.
Different
It follows the drainage ditch, and the event center is a...
So the event center is the civics, it's called the civic use zone, and all uses are permitted.
So just to be clear, the zoning right now does not allow it, and if we were to allow it, basically we'd have to go through a whole process to change the zoning to temporary zoning,
Well, you would,
or,
a temporary use permit, which would allow a use in a zone that's not allowed at this point in time for a set period of time.
and to go through that whole temporary use permit and stuff like that, that's probably a couple of months.
No, it'd be a couple of weeks. Basically, you have to send out some notification. It's a 10-day notification, come back, and comes back to a subsequent council meeting for...
Councillor Wilbur?
So then, does the possibility then exist to allow Midwest to camp with their trailers, because it's not a work camp, it's RVs, to then park in that location on the County Event Center property with the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association providing the garbage cans, dumpsters, and them then making that donation? Like, so is there the possibility of them then camping on that property versus going through all this other process? I just look at this as till October 1st. It's short term. Councillor Javetkov is right. The campsites are full with other workers coming in. Our motels have their blocks reserved by companies with workers coming in. So I'm just trying to find a win situation without saying, no, we don't want you here, you're not welcome. So if we allow that because of different zoning, could they camp there?
Duncan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, zoning-wise, it's permitted use in that zone, Kevin?
That's correct.
Because everything is allowed in the public institutional or in the civic zone. This is a philosophical question to council as far as temporary living and temporary camps and where council would like to go with that. If you were making that recommendation or directing staff back to provide a report, we would be looking similar to some of the other municipalities that we've researched where they're putting them in industrial areas and outside of those areas. But in the end, if council wants to allow this, that would be the zone that you could do it in without a temporary use permit.
Any further discussion? Councillor Javetkov?
So I missed the last comment from Kevin there where he cautioned council about something like jail time, or I didn't hear it totally.
Through you, Chair, the concern that, or the caution that I was giving council is if we were going down a road where you may be considering a temporary use permit, that is, there's a process and you have to consider public consultation within that process. And something that council always needs to be aware of is that they don't want to go into that process and be viewed as already having their mind made up. You want to have an open mind as you go through that process. That's if you're going down some sort of rezoning or change or a temporary use where you have to go through that public consultation. That's all I was caution.
Duncan, go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, that's the temporary use permit at the
Yeah.
exhibition park. If you're using the area to the east of the Lakota Center, you wouldn't have to do that process. I don't know if council has considered this or would consider it, or maybe has already done it, but sometimes these temporary living areas can have an impact on the community in other areas, and there are certain groups that are sometimes impacted by this. And council may want to reach out to those groups before committing to it, unless you have already.
We haven't committed.
Councillor Wilbur, then Councillor Javecka.
So I see they only want the space until October 1st, but I don't see anywhere, when are they planning to start using a space if they had it? I guess what I'm asking is, do we have time to have these conversations and look at alternative options rather than trying to go through a temporary use permit and all of that? If we have other options available that would work, what does our timeline look like?
Duncan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe they're looking for something right away. Secondhand information, just in researching the question.
Yeah, because in all honesty, when I first seen this, we were looking at trying to find other alternatives for these folks. Actually, when I did first see it, I went, what the heck is going on? That's city-owned property. We do not have a contract with Connie or the Exhibition Association. So there, theoretically, you have somebody that doesn't have a contract with the city that wants to lease out city property or rent out city property to somebody, and I just thought, well, that's just wrong right to start with, to begin with anyway. If anything, you would have thought that Midwest would have approached, or Connie would have said, well, you're gonna have to talk to the city because it's their property. That's just my first reaction that I had to it. Second was trying to find them a place to accommodate them, because apparently, there isn't any, and I checked with Dawson Creek Tourism, and they asked about, how full are the RV parks in town, and basically I was told that they were all full. So I don't know where to go here. Me personally, I think it's just a slippery slope, and I think that it's a lot of staff time. We want the business. Don't get me wrong there. We want the business, but and I can understand that Midwest probably had some delays and stuff like that as things went on, but I don't think that this is something that we as a city should be doing, because it's just opening up a big can of worms. Go ahead, Councillor Javecka.
Well, I think this is an opportunity for us to put our money where our mouth is. We encourage economic development. We embrace economic development, and this is an opportunity to show that we actually really do, in more than just words, actually in actions. So I would like to know, or just get a recap of the opportunity to put these RVs on the property from the Lakota Center down to First Street along Highway 2. Is that something that's an option as an immediate solution?
Duncan, I'm just sitting here wondering myself right now, should we be talking about the motion that is on the table, or are we talking about the alternatives?
Well,
I
we're
don't
just
know where
trying
I'm
to
going.
talk about it.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay.
the question is about here, so
Okay.
could I get an answer to that question,
Go ahead,
please?
Duncan.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I'll just kick that to Kevin on the zoning piece.
Yeah, so the zoning allows all uses, that is the lands that you're speaking of, east of Wilco's.
Okay, then what I'm going to suggest is that we defeat the motion to put it in the fairgrounds, and I will make another motion, or somebody can make a motion to put it in this other facility, because the need is immediate.
You could just
I
withdraw
know
the
that the
motion.
mayor,
No, we
the mayor has been actively looking for a solution. So it's not a long-term thing. It's, you know, they have to move in now. They've got a job that'll be done by the end of September, so.
Okay, let's, is there any further discussion on the original motion?
Question.
Okay, question, all in favor? Opposed? Defeated? Nobody was in favor. Councillor Jabecka.
So I'll make a motion that we direct Midland to look at this other location for a site, and that's something that they could move into immediately. And as far as all of the utilities, they would be responsible for all of that, and to leave the site in as good or better condition as they found it.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. So the land in question that we're talking about, to be clear, is from First Street to the Lakota Center? Okay, Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, I would like us to at least have a conversation with the user groups down there to make sure that, you know, they may have some events happening this fall. I don't know that. None of us know that, and we might be infringing upon their area where they usually have their things. And so I think we should at least talk to the folks down at the Lakota Center and Ryan at the event center even, and make sure that this is okay. I mean, I'm in favor, but also I wanted to ask. So there was something about a donation. They were going to donate money to the Exhibition Association, and so,
grandstands.
That's what the letter said, yeah.
so now we're not putting them at the exhibition area. So maybe they'd want to redirect their donation to somebody else other than the Exhibition Association.
Councillor Jabecka?
Yeah, that donation was Connie's request, I imagine. But as far as that site, it'll accommodate like probably 200 or more RVs.
Well, I see.
Because that's the experience with the fair.
Yeah.
What these people are asking for is only 40. So I don't see that as encroaching on any, you know, activities that may come up in September. So I'd like to just see this as a clean approval for administration to go to them and say, look, you know, this is what we're offering. They can negotiate a fee, or, you know, but it would be up to them. We're not providing any service. All we're doing is providing a space for them to go to.
And we don't care about how much money that could be made from it?
Well, it would be up to administration.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe Shelley?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I think you have to be cautioned on this because it can be seen as assistance to business.
Mm-hmm.
So if the city is providing a location for a commercial entity to accommodate their workers for a period of time, I think it would be assistance to business. The other thing you have to be careful is if there's commercial entities out there that are looking at, you know, building an additional RV park or building additional accommodation, you're basically getting in front of them. And that might not be very good for long-term business.
Yeah, it's a huge can of worms, the whole thing.
It is concerning because, you know, we are competing with private enterprise now. You know, we're competing with ourselves because Mile Zero Park Society, we're competing with that trailer park down there. Councillor Jabecka.
Again, you know, the RV parks are full. Otherwise, they'd be using them. You don't build an RV park overnight. It takes months. And if it was a city doing it, it would take years. So, you know, I mean, this is a short-term need. And yeah, we're helping business. Obviously, we encourage business to come in, and we help them in every way we can, hopefully. As far as a fee, administration can negotiate a fee. It's basically a month's rent on that much vacant land.
Okay, I got Duncan Wilbur Schumann.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can charge market value, which would eliminate that assistance to business.
Oh, this was my question.
Yep, me too. He answered it.
Calling the question? Oh,
Can we be
go ahead.
clear on the,
So then we want to make sure then that we are charging, if we vote in favor of this, we are going to charge them.
Yeah, that would be an amendment to the motion.
thank you. Yeah,
Can we amend that, please?
I'll add the amendment then to
charge market value.
charge market value.
And seconders okay with that? Mr. McFadden? Okay. Any discussion
I just
on
need
the
clarity.
amendment?
No, I just need some clarity. So the amendment is we're gonna charge market value, but we're gonna tell Midwest that they have to provide their own garbage cans and
Yeah.
dumpster, okay.
They're
And sewage
providing
and water.
everything.
Sewage, right, yeah.
So the only thing the city's providing is the land,
Yeah.
They can use our sand.
and they're gonna leave it in
Okay, well,
the same, if not
this
better
week
condition than when they found it.
Yeah.
And staff's gonna negotiate the,
Thank you.
money
Yeah, I just need that
part of it.
clarity, thank you.
And
Councillor
talk to the
Parslow?
I'm
state.
voting in favour. I'm putting my hand up.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
We got something done, yeah.
Got something done.
Well, now we're moving
Together.
on to the good stuff.
So now we're getting on to reports.
Okay.
7.1, that'll be report number 17-097 from the Director of Corporate Administration, Policy Update, Social Media, Councillor Parcel.
I move that report number 17097 from the Director of Corporate Administration, read policy update, social media be received, further that the policy attached to this report be approved pending the required 30-day review.
Seconded by Councillor Schumann.
Speaking to
Discussion?
the motion, the rationale is given in the summary and background. It's common sense and needs to be applied.
Councillor Zvekov?
Don't you see my common sense?
No, I don't have a problem with it. I just wondered about the wording of it, that it's superseded by the EOC director. You would want council and administration to be directed by, or confirmed, you know. The superseded threw me off there.
Are you in the summary in the background where it says the revision allows the
the
EOC Director?
The yellow highlighted on
Okay, at the bottom.
page, whatever it is,
Second attachment?
Yep.
second attachment, yeah. You know what I mean? The superseded. So that means that I could make a comment, and then the EOC could make one, and it supersedes mine. Like, I think it would be better that we don't make a comment unless it's approved by the EOC.
In this situation, only the EOC should be commenting.
Because otherwise, we'll all be running around making comments, and then the EOC will be busy superseding them.
Duncan?
Is that,
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, the intent is that in the event of an emergency, whoever that EOC director is can put out media releases pertaining to that event quickly and efficiently and get that information out to the community.
And accurately.
To go through counselor or the CAO. That's all. The language is intended, and this language was recommended to us through some of the training that we have.
okay, just kind of threw me off, that's all. I support it.
Okay, for the question, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 7.2, report number 17-111 from Deputy Chief Financial Officer, annual risk update.
That was a good one. I liked it.
Councillor
Okay, slow down.
McFadden.
I would make a motion that report number 17-111 from the Deputy Chief Financial Officer regarding the annual risk update be received. For information, further, that an annual risk review be completed in 2018 with the assistance of Sigma Risk Management.
Seconded by Councillor Parslow. Discussion? All those,
Just a question, the fair share, new government, doesn't that take a ordering council to just get rid of fair share agreement? What's the process? Doesn't government still have the means of just saying it's over? I just
always have that.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think the provincial government has the ability to change anything in law in the legislature. The likelihood of the event, I'll say, is a low risk at this point, but you know, if things change, you'll probably be the first to know. But there is no reason, there is nothing that we see today that causes us concern that that agreement will be looked into, and it has certain opening dates. So I expect that nothing will be done until that time.
okay, everybody? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Report number 17-121 from the Director of Corporate Administration, Building Inspection Designation. Councillor Parslow?
The report 17-121 from the Director of Corporate Administration, Rebuilding Inspector designation be received. Further, that Ted Pringle be appointed as a building inspector for the corporation of the City of Dawson.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Report number 17-122 from the Director of Development Services regarding the speeding concerns on 17th Street. Councillor Javetkov.
Recommend that report number 17-122 from the Director of Development Services re speed concerns on 17th Street north of Alaska Avenue be received. Further, that no change to the posted speed be made to 17th Street between Alaska Avenue and Imperial Road.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Discussion? Councillor Wilbur.
I think at the very least, there is a park there, there's swing sets, there's a crosswalk there, and I think at the very least, it should be 30 kilometers an hour past that park, and then there's the school zone, and from there the traffic flow can continue. We have an area that doesn't have sidewalks on both sides. It's come back to us over and over again about speed and dangers there, and other than the speed limit being posted during school hours, there is no posting of speed limit there. We have a solar panel unit that tells us how fast you're going. That's it. So I think at the very least, very similar to Frank Ross, that leads into a ball diamond, a park past K-Pac, the old K-Pac location. There's a ball diamond there that led into a school zone. That those lengths, so that including the park and the school, are 30 kilometers an hour. And I think that this is another spot in the community that at least the park and the school zone should be 30 kilometers an hour. It's a high traffic area. We have youth, we have young mothers. Something bad's gonna happen, and I think this is the opportunity to just slow that traffic down through those two zones. After the school zone, it could continue to 50 kilometers out, and you're in that throughway again, but I'm gonna vote against this. I think it needs to be 30 kilometers an hour past the park and the school zone.
So you're saying from
The tracks.
the Alaska?
From the tracks?
From the railroad tracks?
To the end of the school zone should be 30 kilometers an hour. And I don't think that's an extended period of roadway. I think it makes sense. And to retrain traffic every school year that, you know, it's not 50 kilometers anymore, and now you're back to 30. It should just be 30 kilometers past the park and through the school zone year round.
Councillor Dweckhoff?
I'm just referring to the report that we commissioned on the traffic safety. So the collision history and the speed analysis and the safety issues, and the recommendation came back that the speed limit isn't an issue there. So, you know, I guess if we're going to go with personal opinions, why do we commission these studies? Why don't we just sit down and everybody that has an opinion as it's hashed out and forget wasting the money? Like, this is an actual factual study. People went out, counted the traffic. They counted, looked at the speeds that were going, people were going at, the collision history. So I think it's, you know, the recommendation is we don't change it, and that's, makes sense to me. It's.
Councillor Wilder?
And I'm not basing this on personal opinion, I'm basing it on feedback I've heard from people that live in that area. And we've had increased development and population in that area since some of these studies come forward. So I think that has to be taken into consideration, but be very clear, this is not my personal opinion. I brought this forward from those people that live in the community and are concerned about the speed past the park and through the school zone.
Councillor Jabecon?
So that's when we heard those opinions from the people that lived there, that's why we got the study done. That's the process. So we got the study done, and the recommendations came out that there's no change.
Duncan, you got any comments?
So through you, Mr. Chair, one concern that we do have when we do change speeds is that we can create a change in the traffic flow and create challenges in other areas from people trying to avoid those zones, maybe going over to 15th or through more residential neighborhoods instead of following the arterials out. But we don't know what that would look like. The other piece is if council wishes, you could direct staff to work with the RCMP and provide some more enforcement in that area and make that area a priority of the RCMP for traffic control.
And this is about where the mayor would be saying, if he was here, education, engineering, and enforcement. I think I've heard him say that previously about ICBC, et cetera. But is there any further discussion? Councillor Parson.
I'm tempted to respond to my colleague, Councillor Javatrov, there about studies. You know, some of these studies are not worth the paper they're written on. I'm not saying this about this traffic study. Anyway, I happened to spend 2 hours observing the traffic on 17th Street last night at the intersection of 17th Street and 89th Avenue. And I can tell you that unless my sense of perception of speeds is out of whack, and I'm talking about an area north of what Councillor Wilbur's talking about, it's a gone show. The speed at which people are exiting the town, going north, and coming into town. Mm-hmm. I believe it is posted 50 now at the Imperial Access Road. And there was a stop sign, isn't there a stop sign there now? Which I was told slowed traffic down and by people who live in the area. But my observations is I would consider it dangerous because there still is a lot of kids walking home into the residential area west up that 17th Street north of the school zone. So I'm not easy with the speed limit of being 50 along that duration either. The whole corridor from Imperial into down south to the Laster Avenue, I think, should be 30.
Any other comments? I travel that road every single day, sometimes twice a day. I'm conscious of the speed limit because we've been talking about it here. On one side of me, I agree with Councillor Wilbur. At the park, it should be 30. Beyond the park, I past the school zone, past the forestry building, yes, I believe that should be 50, but, you know, there are no sidewalks up past, I think it's 91st, all the way up to the four-way stop on Imperial. So, and yeah, there's always joggers and kids out there and stuff like that. You know, you do have a recommendation from staff saying just leave it the way it is. The study tells us that that's the way it is and stuff like that, but it just, part of me just says, you know, at a minimum, let's lower the speed limit down from Alaska to at least the school. And, you know, there's opportunities, like there should actually be a crosswalk. I think it's up by 91st, because the new subdivision, there's no crosswalk there, and the sidewalk is actually on the west side of 17th Street once you get past the forestry, and then there's the sidewalk that was in the new development there, which is off of the road, but it doesn't even continue to the forestry. So it is, my opinion, it's a dangerous area to be having your kids walking, or just even if you're jogging, or just anybody along that road, because somebody's not paying attention, somebody's going to get hit. So I at a minimum, I would be saying myself, change the speed limit at the bottom end. So I'm going to have to vote against the recommendation just to leave it, because something actually has to be done. But that's just my opinion. Councillor Dvekov?
You know, if you're talking about people coming and speeding, that's a different issue. I mean, you could have a speed limit of 25 kilometers an hour, and if people are speeding, they're speeding. That's an enforcement issue, or deal with it in a different way. The example I use is coming in from the Dangerous Good route on 17th. The speed limit there is 80, but once you hit 116th, it's 50. That was always a complaint before as well. Now we have that electronic sign there, so if you're coming in, I mean, it gives you you know, it jars your memory that you're coming into a 50-kilometer speed zone. And I haven't seen any problems, and I'm like you, I drive that every day or 2 or 3 times a day coming from the ski hill. So, you know, it's been handled there effectively. You know, I don't see a problem with putting one of those electronic signs up on 17th, up on the north end either. But as far as the speed limit, 50 kilometers an hour is plenty slow enough. I mean, that's the standard speed limit all over town, other than beside parks.
Councillor Wilbur?
I was going to say, except for parks, and that is a park space that doesn't have a 30-kilometer-an-hour designation. It goes right into a school zone, which we have other cases all over the community. It's a short distance. I do believe through our master transportation plan and just planning of sidewalks and stuff into the future that staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that was an area where that new development is, that we'll see sidewalks go in eventually leading to the school. So that, I'm not concerned about past the forestry, because I think we already have it in the works, that we understand we need sidewalks, that kind of stuff. And we do have the four-way stop, maybe putting in a solar panel, speed notifier saying, you know, it's 50 kilometers now. I just think that for the safety of the people that live in that area and their children getting to and from that school, which also has park, and that park space, which is utilized a lot, that it be like the rest of the community and main thoroughways, that it be 30 kilometers an hour. So 95th is a straight through, 96 is a straight through. There's lots of traffic on those streets. There's lots of traffic on the short little piece of 94th on each side of the cutoff. So I think it makes sense. I understand what the people in the area are saying, and I understand the concern for the young families and students utilizing that space. And it's their area of the community, and I think it should be safe for them to get from point A to point B. And it just makes sense for it to match the rest of the areas in town where there's a park and a school zone together.
Okay, let's call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's defeated. It was, did you get it? Okay.
Make the motion.
Go ahead, Councillor Wilbur.
I would like to make a motion that the speed be reduced from the tracks through to the end of the school area at Crescent Park on 17th Street to 30 kilometers an hour. Staff can wordsmith that if need be.
Seconded by Councillor Parslow. Discussion.
I think we discussed it.
I think we discussed it.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Moving right along.
Moving right along, I'm just getting caught up here again. We're at item 7.5.
What are you guys fighting over
Over this one.
airport things?
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll do that upstage.
Here, yeah, this will be great.
No, call McFadden. Don't give him.
Report number 17-123, go ahead, Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move that report 17-123 from the Director of Development Services. We request for quotations 2017-32. Airport snowplow truck be received. Further, the Council award RFQ 2017-32 to Western Star and Freightliner Trucks of Grand Prairie for the delivery of a new airport snowplow truck, model 114SD, for the total of $285,690 plus GST and $5,350 shipping plus GST.
Seconded by Councillor
Oh, no,
Wilbur.
give it to him.
Discussion.
Good, Shaylee.
Question.
Question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So mean to him.
He kicked me earlier.
7.6, report number 17-125 from the project manager regarding the waste treatment plant upgrades, equipment, solicitation process. Sorry. Moved by Councillor Parslow.
The report 17-125 from the project manager re WTP process upgrades equipment procurement be received. Further, that council award the filter under drains retrofit to AWI for $347,750 plus applicable PST and GST. And further, that council award the UV reactors supplied to Trojan for $184,480 plus applicable PST and GST. And further, the council award the adsorption clarifier supply to Borio Water for $542,416 plus PST and GST.
God, that's a lot of money.
Seconded by Councillor Javetkov. Discussion.
Wow.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I just regarding that, I think that,
It's
you know,
over.
$4,000 increase in cubes is awesome. Okay, so report number 7.7, that would be report number 17-126 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding request for proposals 2017-29 Dawson Creek Tourism Services. Councillor Schumann.
Thank you. So, with all due respect to Ms. Ginter and Mr. Hillary, I am going to move the alternative of this and ask that council award our tourism services contract to Spectra. I don't know what I need to add in there. I guess that they're asking for the renewal period to align with their current management agreement at the Canada Event Center, which runs through December 31st, 2027. But regardless, I want to move the alternative, which is giving the contract to Spectra.
Seconded by Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, so in the old days, back in the day, we chose to have a tourism provider from out of the community simply because we did not have that expertise within our community. I think that times have changed. It's 2017 now, and we do have that expertise in this community. Ryan MacGyver and his team at Spectra have a knowledge of this community and region. They have a knowledge of our stakeholders. They know who our visitors are, and you know, the efficiencies of having them do this. I mean, I didn't even realize that they were even putting their name in, and if I had, I would have been like, yay. Ryan has superior knowledge of our tourism industry, and I just think that, you know, one of our goals moving forward with tourism is to you know, sort of try to capitalize on or move forward the sports tourism. And so the synergy between Encana Event Center, Ryan at Spectra and that team, their marketing abilities, their in-house experience, you know, the idea of bringing in someone from Vancouver, and I'm sure they're a wonderful, wonderful organization, but bringing someone in, they're going to have to get up to speed on who we are, what we want, who our visitors are, what are our plans. I mean, we've put so much effort into this up until this point, and to have to start all over again with a whole new organization that doesn't know us, doesn't know anything about us, seems silly to me. So that's why I moved the alternative. I really think that Spectra and Ryan specifically will do a really great job for us, and that's what I have to say on the matter.
Councillor McFadden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I read the report several times, and for the life of me, I really can't see a huge difference between both of the tenders. So what was it that tipped staff to go with the people from Vancouver?
Go ahead, Duncan.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it was a combination of staff and a representative from the tourism committee bringing the recommendation forward. Ultimately, Destination Think is a tourism and marketing organization. This is what they do. This is completely in their scope. This is a little outside of Spectra's scope, although they do tourism and they do provide events and they do market those events. However, you have a unique situation here in Dawson Creek where you have Mr. MacGyver, who's operated tourism, is very familiar with our model and even created that model. You have two very capable groups. Council did not direct staff to put any emphasis on a local contractor. And so the recommendation comes forward based on a lot of information and a lot of interviews and a lot of discussion. But ultimately, you could go either way, and they bring different components to the table, and it's really what council's looking for. That's why you have such a detailed report.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilbur?
The thing that triggered me for this is that Destination Think is that they're a marketing company. So that's their strong suit, which is great, but there's more to marketing to our tourism. It is a part of our economic development, and looking at it from a business aspect, and I look at Ryan and his staff in Spectra, they understand our local business, they understand what their needs and concerns are, and Ryan's a part of that planning that we're working through now and understands how we got there and where we want it to go, and I think that's a strength. And as Councillor Schumann had mentioned, we didn't have that before, and we do now, and I think it's important that we embrace those that know who we are. It distinctly says in there, you know, that Destination Think will have to send staff up here to come up to speed, to get to know who we are. I don't want to recreate the wheel. Tourism has grown in our community. It supports our local business. I think it's a fit with Spectra. And we need to take advantage of what we have and the expertise we have. And so that's why I support Councillor Schumann's motion. I do not think that we can afford the time to bring people up to speed and retrain. We are many things in tourism, but we are also business and we are also economic development, and that that's not something that you just bring yourself up to speed on. That's something that you learn and grow and get to know. And we have an advantage here with Ryan and his team and Spectra, and I think that we should embrace that and move forward with it. And I think you need to live it and know who you are, and not try and come up to speed and work within a plan. They know the plan, and we need to stick to that plan. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Councillor Rebecca.
Yeah, I guess I disagree. I know Ryan is competent with tourism because he's the one that basically brought us into tourism Dawson Creek back 12 or 14 years ago, whatever it was. But now he runs the Encana Center, so he's not a tourism business. The other organization is a professional tourism organization. As far as getting up to speed on tourism, tourism is tourism, and I think that bringing somebody in from outside with some new ideas may be quite a benefit to us. We continually default to the existing. We don't sort of broaden our horizons. I think if we bring somebody in from outside, maybe there will be some changes, positive changes. We've got a professional tourism organization versus somebody that wants to be a tourism organization that are currently operating in an event center. To me, I looked through the committee's assessment there, and the other thing is that Ryan right away needs $6,000 more. The other organization are working within the parameters that have been set out. So I think bringing in new blood is there probably is a big benefit.
Okay, for me, this is going to be a while. Have some patience, please, because I was involved in this for almost 2 years now. A little history is, by the way, I support staff's recommendation, and I support the committee's recommendation. Now I've got a lot of work to do to try and convince 3 of you, by the sounds of things, possibly 4, that the destination thing is the way to go. I've spent most of the weekend working on this, and I spent most of last night awake thinking, I sure hope that this doesn't happen. So in 2015, council indicated tourism needed something, because otherwise, was it working in the past? I don't know, but council had said that we do something with tourism. That's why there was a tourism advisory committee made, and then there was a tourism steering committee. And then we went through a whole process with the Dawson Creek Tourism Plan. And then we had the Dawson Creek Tourism Business Plan. All of that work was done with consultation from the citizens, from the stakeholders in Dawson Creek. So they had invested their time, and my thinking is there's a lot of time that's been invested from the citizens of Dawson Creek regarding tourism, and the recommendation that had gone forward. Basically, I can understand that council might want to change something in that, but those people worked awfully hard, and I do thank them for their efforts and staff's effort in all of this. There's probably a lot of information that council didn't get. There were the minutes from the steering and the advisory committee that were all available. So I just look at it and go, council, didn't work on the RFP. Council was not involved in the conference calls with the proponents on the RSP. Council asked a professional team to make a recommendation. That also included the steering committee and the tourism advisory committee. And my thinking is the rationale for council's decision on this had better be a good one, because it seems like you asked the community what to do, and you're going against that recommendation. And I just kind of wonder what other information that you have that the steering committee didn't have. And I understand that you say Ryan would be a great fit for tourism in Dawson Creek and Global would be. That's not what Global does. Ryan has a job. You're asking Ryan to take on another job. And that job, would Dawson Creek Tourism get a complete and 100% dedication towards that? My feelings is that Global would utilize Dawson Creek Tourism to better their business, which is Dawson Creek's business as well. So there's an argument there. But I think that there's many layers to tourism, and and we have a very robust plan, and it's been working well. And council had indicated that it needed some tweaking, it needed some changing. Yes, Spectra's from the United States. Destination Think, their office location, their headquarters is in Vancouver. Rodney Payne, the CEO, he's actually a partner in that company. He's invested in that company. The senior management from that company are also invested in that company. They are part owners. If this is their business, this is what they do. Is the tourism Global's business? Is that what they do?
Calling them Global, they're Spectra.
Spectra. Thank you, Sharon. And the history 101 was, Northern BC Tourism had the contract since 2011. In 2015, the city requested that Northern BC Tourism Association work together to develop a more sustainable model of tourism. So that's going back to 2015. So then in 2016, we had the community tourism plan, which I already spoke about. And then in December 2016, Northern BC Tourism Association wasn't able to fulfill their contract that we had. So then we all went back out again. This, for Destination Think, this isn't a make or break deal for their business. But this Dawson Creek would help promote their business. They are actually all over the world. They are in Australia, they have an office in Texas, and they're in the Netherlands as well. So they have international experience in this as well. Research and development work for tourism with that particular company is constant. They are constantly working on that. There was a few things that that we had talked about in council, like council had said, and I heard it and I said it myself, that yes, the visitor information center is important. The Alaska Highway House is important. The visitor information magazine is important. And then I was reading some of the things that Destination Think had said, and part of it was they're a destination marketing organization. We hear that all the time. But in Destination Think's website, they say they want to take the word marketing out. It's not destination marketing, it's destination managing. They want to be able to manage the people that come into Dawson Creek. So that to me said they want to have, they want to be in touch with the people that are coming to Dawson Creek. So that's their management style. That was something that was on their website since 2016. That was what they had written. So my final thought was, council should follow and endorse the recommendation for the from the Tourism Advisory Committee and from staff. The city will benefit from having two marketing agencies, allowing for more diversity and collaboration. See, now you've got two marketing two different groups marketing Dawson Creek. Why do you only want to have one? You know, you're spending the same amount of money, and I think it's way better to have those two. And then also, I would like to see a motion come out of here. If this motion to go with somebody else passes, I believe it's council has an obligation and a responsibility to the committee why you went against that recommendation, and just to be clear for that particular committee. So, Councillor Schum.
Thank you, Mark. So, again, I'm going to reiterate the fact that Ryan has been here through all of this with us. He's lots of times been sitting in our gallery, listening to our conversations of what we want and what we don't want. I think that Ryan understands our community. I think that they have an amazing team out there that has been doing great things with marketing the event center. I think they can apply that to Tourism Dawson Creek. They know who our stakeholders are. They don't need to come to town and get to know the Mile Zero Park Society and the Historical Society and us and everyone else in this community. They don't need to do that, because having the local people do it, they already know us. They know what we want. They understand very well who our visitor is. We don't need to be doing a whole bunch of new studies to find out who our visitors are. We know who they are. You know, I think that going with Spectra is a way better option than bringing in somebody from outside of the community. And yeah, these guys are a tourism company, but you're saying how Ryan is out there managing the event center. Now we're going to put all this other work on him. This company also manages all sorts of different tourism things around the country and the world, as you talk. What makes Dawson Creek important to them? No, Dawson Creek is important to Ryan McIver, and Dawson Creek is important. Dawson Creek tourism is important to Ryan McIver, and to that whole team out there. I just honestly, I can't even understand how we wouldn't choose them.
Then my thing is, my statement to that would be, then why didn't council save staff, citizens, a whole lot of time, and just say, we want Ryan to do the job?
I didn't even know that they were going to bid on this. When I opened up this agenda, I was like, wow, oh my God, but wait a minute.
Yeah. Councillor Wilbur?
Perfect sense.
Well, I just want to be clear that Spectra has put a bid forward on this, not Ryan. The benefit is that Ryan works there, and I don't think they would have bid on it if they didn't think they could take on the workload. What also causes me to concern with Destination Think is their assurance that they have the latitude to do what they do. That scares me. Does that cost more money? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. As far as data, the data's there. Councillor Schuman's already alluded to it. The partnerships are already in place with all these different organizations. We want data, we can get the data. Whoever's running tourism can get that data. It's there for anybody. So to me, that's not an issue. I'm also concerned that they spoke to, 3 employees back on what tourism's doing? Why didn't they speak to our current person in charge, or why didn't they speak to the person before them or the person before them? Interesting enough, Dustin's in Australia, so I find that connection interesting. They didn't talk to current people working in a current plant. So that bothers me. And honestly, I think we have a great team with Spectra that has a great relationship with the city, knows our community, has access to that data, and don't think they don't, because they do, because yes, they market as well. So they also know who's coming to our community, and they track very closely who's coming into our community. It fits. The bonus is that Ryan's been a part of building our tourism, and now he's there with Spectra. That is a bonus for us, but it is Spectra who has answered this request for proposals, and they have the capability, the knowledge, and the team to run our tourism, and I think run it to a very high standard. So I support the motion, and you know, we watch time and time again where these other companies come in from the lower mainland and stuff, and we're not a part of that cookie cutter, and I do not want to put our tourism in a part of that cookie cutter.
Question.
Does staff have any comments? Because there was a few things that were said there that indicating that Destination Think wants to come in and reinvent the wheel, so to speak, or change things. Through the negotiations and stuff like that, was there, I know they were asking for some leeway and some latitude, but if I was, any company is going to ask for leeway and latitude from council regarding this. Go ahead, Duncan.
Sure, so through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, so through our conversations and follow-up, they satisfied, we would put the recommendation forward if we didn't believe they're familiar with our current market and knowledgeable enough to provide that service. And also, sorry, what was the other question you had?
Well, just that it was regarding the talking about just wanting to change everything.
Yeah, sorry. So through you, Mr. Chair, they are a for-profit organization and they market themselves, or they create opportunities for themselves through their program, and they just want to ensure that they're going to have some flexibility within this agreement in order to be successful in their minds, and in order to maintain that reputation of, in their words, modernizing and running an organization that they can sell to other communities as well. But having said that, both groups are capable of providing this contract.
Yeah, this is their job. This is what they do. They're invested in this. They've listed their 28 people that the groups or communities that they work for. All you have to do is look at the websites. Compare Dawson Creek's website to any of the other websites that they're handling, and ours, quite frankly, is not up to par with the ones that they're contracting with right now. Councillor Javetkov, last question.
Yeah, I just think we don't want to forget the fact that over the last year, yourself and the committee have spent a ton of time going over this process, coming up with a solution. Administration and the committee have done a comprehensive assessment of the options and made a recommendation, and to me, I put a lot of value in that. I mean, it's you know, and I think you made a comment there that struck me as well. We get the other tourism organization. Now we have two service providers here. We have Spectra that are doing their job, and they're also overlapping on tourism. They do a lot of marketing and that kind of work. Now we've got Destination Think as well, so we're getting double the benefit. So it just, to me, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think Dawson Creek Tourism should be leveraging the Encana Event Center, not the other way around. But anyways, let's call the question. All those in favor of hiring Spectra, which was option number 1. All those opposed? So it's 3-3, so that's defeated. Councillor Javetkov?
I'll make the original motion on the original recommendation. I haven't got it pulled up here, and it takes a while to download it, so if you can just use that recommendation.
Do you want me to report? The report number 17-126 regarding Dawson Creek Tourism RFP 2017-29 be received. Further, that staff be authorized to enter into an agreement with Destinations Think to assume the current tourism Dawson Creek services contract and with an extension to December 31st, 2021 to align with the timeline of the current tourism Dawson Creek business plan. Further, that an addendum be provided that would provide Destination Think with the flexibility to adjust the tourism Dawson Creek plan as necessary to meet the tourism needs of the city of Dawson Creek. A further resolution will be required if council wishes to restrict certain aspects of the agreement from being changed. Any terms or conditions that restrict flexibility within the tourism contract would be provided to Destination Think for consideration and approval. Seconded. Calling for a second time. Somebody to second that motion? And a third time to second that motion. Am I allowed to? Guess not.
Yeah,
You can.
you do have a vote.
You can.
Yeah, oh, okay, well, I'll second it. Discussion? So I think we pretty much beat it to death here, but if this motion doesn't pass, then you have nothing, unless the mayor brings it back. So if that's what you want to have happen, that would be the will of council, I guess. But in all honesty, I think that it's a huge mistake not to go with Destination Think. And I think it's actually irresponsible of council to have the uncertainty, because part of the original motion to defeat or to look for a different provider was to add certainty and a long-term plan for Dawson Creek tourism. So it's taken 2 years to get to here, and we are more uncertain now than what we were 2 years ago. Councillor Schumann.
Yeah, so I'm going to vote against this, and I hope that others will vote against it as well, because I think that it would be prudent for the mayor to bring it back and have us all at the table in order to do this properly.
Your way, you mean?
Whatever way.
Yeah. Councillor Wilburn?
To you, I don't appreciate the assumptions. I appreciate the fact that we all have stated how we feel and what we think is best for tourism. And I agree, maybe we do need the mayor here, but I don't need to be reprimanded or assumptions made. That's wrong and unacceptable. So please stop doing that. It's not needed. We voted and we'll vote on this one. And if it means the mayor has to bring it back, then I guess the mayor has to bring it back. But moving forward, the certainty will be that the majority voted and that's the way we're gonna go. Because I think as equally, as staff has said, both companies are good. Some of us prefer Spectra over Destination Think, and that's our right to vote and make that decision. So reprimanding us and making assumptions is rude, uncalled for, and wrong, and I'm not going to tolerate it anymore.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
by
then you should think
reprimanding.
about what you just said, and perhaps Mr. Javetkov that should think about what he just said. We have the right to vote the way we see fit. And
So
if you
let's
don't
vote.
like it, that's fine. But please don't reprimand in how you speak to us.
So then let's vote.
Thank you.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Defeated. So at this point, I would like to say that I apologize if you took whatever out of context what I said. And further to that, I would officially resign from the Dawson Creek Tourism Advisory Committee, effective immediately, and I'll provide that letter of resignation to the mayor. Moving on. 7.8, report number 17-127 from the Director of Development Services regarding Airport Capital Assistance Contribution Agreement for the Greater Councillor McFadden.
No, he doesn't put his hand up.
Councillor Parslow beat me to the draw
I beat him to
again.
the draw.
Well, I was ignoring him. I was looking right at you.
I don't even have it up.
Oh, okay. Councillor Parslow, go ahead.
Well, I will read this on behalf of Councillor McFadden. That report 17-127 from the Director of Development Services RE Airport Capital Assistance Program Contribution Agreement. Airport grader be received. Further, that the City of Dawson Creek agreed to enter into an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Canada for $384,500 for a new grader for the Dawson Creek Regional Airport. Further, the Council agrees to assume all costs above the levels approved by the Minister, and further, that the Mayor and the Chief Administrative Officer are authorized to sign the agreement and other necessary documents on behalf of the City of Dawson Creek. So Terry can move it. I'll be willing to second it.
So moved.
Seconded by Mr. McFadden. Discussion.
Sounds good.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Report number 17-131 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding June 30th, 2017 consolidated actual budget variance. Councillor Javetkov.
I recommend that report number 17-131 from the Chief Financial Officer read June 30th, 2017 consolidated budget variance report be received for information.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Report number 17-132 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding temporary use permits timeline. Councillor Schumann.
I move report number 17-132 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding our temporary use permit timeline be received. Further, that the current practice of providing an initial report regarding temporary use permits, development permits, and development variance permits be removed, and that staff proceed directly to the public notification process once all application requirements have been met. Further, that council be included within the public notification process.
Seconded by Mr. McFadden. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried.
That's a good idea.
Yes, it is.
So I just had a question on that one.
Oh, sorry.
Did we vote already?
So are we actually going with option one? Is that the recommendation?
Yes.
I support option one, and it sort of seemed like it was option one, but it didn't actually say
Duncan?
that.
So through you, Mr. Chair, option one is to continue with the same procedure.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
That would result in a report comes to council, then we go to 10 days, and then another report comes to council.
So that's not.
That
I
takes
thought-
so
What
much
you
time.
approved was
Remove.
no initial report to council,
Just goes direct.
direct out to the public, one report to council after you have public feedback,
Yeah.
which will speed
So
up.
option one, it says council could direct staff to proceed directly to the public notification. Is that what we're voting on, or voted on?
Directly to, going directly to public notification, yes. The number one you're referring to is an alternative to the motion?
No, I'm referring to option one.
Yeah, those are.
It's above
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so that's what I've adopted, good.
That's what we adopted.
I was worried he was going to be opposed to it. It's like, that goes against everything he always says.
I just wanted to be clear on what it was.
Let's take a break.
Oh, did we vote?
first?
Oh, sorry. After we vote, we can take a break.
I think we voted on it already.
Yeah, we
Mike.
already
voted,
did.
yeah.
We already did. And it was passed.
All right, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for the break.
okay. Do we need 7 minutes here? 7:11.
Oh, God.
Report number 17-133 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding the approachment policy 30-day review, but I believe before we have to do that, we have to include the late items
As well.
as well.
Actually, a motion to include the two late items would be.
Okay.
I'll make that motion to include the late items.
Shaley and McFadden, is there any discussion on the late items? All those in favor? Carried. So now we can go straight to the recommendation. Anybody got it?
It's a big one.
Councillor Schumann?
Okay, so
Recommendation 2, do that first.
I have to do 2 first?
I would suggest you do it first, yeah.
All right. Well, I will move, because I have to, by the looks of it, that the following direction from the February 6th council meeting regarding property owners neighboring the Chamberlain Park be rescinded. Do you want me to read that all out? That the property owners, so what we're rescinding is that those property owners found to be trespassing be required to remove all structures within a 4-month period. Further, that the park be restored to its natural state in accordance with the OCP, and further that the trespass of 10721 Willowview Drive be removed and restored in accordance with the qualified environmental professional. And further, that all encroachments identified within the Chamberlain Park be dealt with in accordance with the encroachment policy. The new one, I guess. So we vote on that one?
I think we should do number 2 first and then
So
number
that's-
1, or are
I-
we gonna
I
block
just-
this?
I just moved number 2.
Yeah,
And I'll second number 2, because I guess
okay, let's
that's
have,
what we did.
seconded by Councillor Wilbur. And then discussion on recommendation number 2.
Through you,
Sir.
Mr. Chair, the policy does not exist at this point, so that part of the motion
Okay.
is out of order.
All right, so we'll
Okay.
just end it at the end of what I rescinded then. I don't understand why I didn't just do the other one first. Can I just do the other one first?
Okay.
Well, you've
Yeah.
already done it.
Thank you, I don't know who told me to do that.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Because what if the policy, what if,
I'll take the blame.
Okay, I move the first one. Report number 17113 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding encroachment policy be received. Further, the second draft of the encroachment policy as attached to this report be approved. Let's vote on that.
I will second that.
Okay. Discussion, go ahead.
I will be voting against this policy. I do not support the section under enforcement, where it states it is the intention of the city to apply this policy only when a complaint is received or when encroachments are identified by the city through its normal process and management of municipal land or upon request by a landowner. I'm going to say that we, if we continue with our old practices, then we're going to get continued encroachment, because the old practices have led to this mess that we have throughout the community. And I believe that in this regard, as it relates to encroachment by private owners into parks, right-of-ways, whatever, we need to be proactive and monitor the situation rather than just being complaint-driven. So I can't support the policy.
Further discussion? Councillor Zvetkov?
Yeah, I agree as well. If we're not proactive, then we're continuing on with the same approach, and we can expect the same results. So if we want different results with regard to these trespass situations, and I call them trespass because that's what they are, encroachment puts them in a sort of an acceptable light. If we're not proactive, then we will be just continuing on with the same issue.
Duncan, you got any comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, we're talking about encroachments and we're talking about this policy. I mean, there's two ways to look at it, I guess. One is existing encroachments, and the second is future encroachments. We are working operationally on trying to communicate some of the areas that we see encroachments, whether it be fences and sheds, to the public. We've talked about other opportunities, whether it be permits for fences and sheds, and although we don't want to layer bureaucracy on this process, it would ensure that the people who are constructing in these areas will be getting the information up front before embarking on those projects. I'm not certain if Councillor Parslow is referring to the previous or existing encroachments, or if his concern more is proactive moving forward. I can say that moving forward, we are looking to work with homeowners and individuals and residents in the building process and trying to get that information out there. There's also been some comments regarding education of our employees who are in the community, and I think that that's warranted. We have a number of employees throughout the community that are working in areas, and they are able to help identify the pieces that are under construction. And yes, we are going to become more proactive in that area. However, at this point, we have no direction to go out and start looking for places that aren't compliant currently from 30 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I do believe some of the discussion that we had was around this was that that staff should at least be educated on what the encroachment and what the trespass is, and I believe I had a conversation with staff regarding the wording, because I didn't like the wording encroachment, because to me it wasn't strong enough. And I think that there was something to do with a legal opinion regarding around the wording encroachment or versus trespass. And I'm not sure what that was. Does that ring a bell or anything, Duncan?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Brenda has some comments on that.
Yeah, with regards to the encroachment, we did clearly define it within the policy. And there's the option for, there's the unauthorized encroachment and the unauthorized encroachment. So that's where the weight is, I feel. With an unauthorized encroachment, then they're required to remove their encroachment. Otherwise, they go through the process, application, reviewed by staff to authorize the encroachment. Staff would consider all of the policies and planning documents that the city has. They would provide a recommendation to council, and it would be ultimately up to council to approve that encroachment or not. If it's not approved, then it would be needed to be removed from the property.
Councillor Juvekov?
Yeah, I mean, as far as being proactive, like I've seen a situation up here, and it's the park along 17th. It's got a definite line, park boundary, and it's mowed. The grass is mowed there, but the person that's mowing has to go down part ways, and then he has to jog around these trespasses. That's the kind of proactive issue that I'm talking about. Like, that individual that's mowing the lawn should be responsible to come to administration and say, look, you've got a trespass out there. Not just ignore it. Because if you ignore it over years, you get what we have in Chamberlain. The other thing with requiring a complaint, what you do is create animosity in the neighborhood.
Yep.
So, if I complain about the guy that's got his RV parked in his yard adjacent to mine, then you've got an issue between neighbors. If city staff went there and said, look, this is it's non-compliant, then the city has to bear the brunt of the ill will or bad feelings. So there's I prefer the proactive approach even if you get a complaint, the complaint shouldn't be used where it's going to create animosity. And as far as land use, you have a trespass, but then if you approve land use, it's not you don't say you're approving an encroachment, you're approving land use. You know, you're granting an individual to use city land. To me, it's much clearer. A trespass is a trespass. Like, I don't believe that the word encroachment puts enough emphasis on the issue. Like, if I build a fence between myself and my neighbor, I make sure that I'm on the property line. Why? Because I wouldn't trespass onto his land. So, you know, it should be the same with, you know, with going onto city land. So I guess, you know, I would like to see it more worded in the document that there will be a proactive approach. And I agree with you. There's the past issues that have to be resolved issue by issue. But new issues or new trespasses, it should be, you know, our position should be that it's proactive. That if we see something or our staff sees something, that it's dealt with. Otherwise, you just keep, you know, going along in the same vein. And I think they should be called trespasses.
I just got a question for staff. If we were to put in that we would be proactive, and then if we missed something, does that make us then liable because we missed it, because we're in our policy, we're supposed to be proactive? Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
I just thought of that.
I have to look at that. I know we have another policy that's, and I can't remember the name of the policy offhand, that states that we're gonna be complaint driven. I can't remember.
That's the bylaw.
Sorry, through the bylaw, yeah.
So just on that comment, through you, Mr. Chair, is I don't believe we can be held liable for something that we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
If we had policy, or if we developed a policy around being proactive and we did our best to follow that policy, that's all that we can be responsible for. We can't be liable for something that we're not aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, also, if we're going down the proactive, if that's council's intent, I think there needs to be some discussion around what that looks like. Are we talking about going around town and measuring every fence to make sure that it's 8 feet, you know, regardless of how long it's been there? Or are we talking about, you know, going around, and we are somewhat proactive already in tall grass and weeds, but generally, you know, we're on two different subjects. We're talking about encroachments, but we're also talking about RVs and some of our bylaw enforcement where we have been primarily complaint driven for the most part. And it's I mean, the intent originally was, it's a neighborhood standard in that if your neighbors aren't concerned that you have a patch of grass that may be a little over 12 centimeters or whatever the bylaw is, 18, is that council's concern, and is that the city's concern to go out there and enforce that? Originally, or the original intent was no. The neighbors complain. We don't indicate where the complaint came from, just that a neighbor has complained and asked them to comply with the bylaw. So if you're gonna go down that proactive road, there's some discussion to be had regarding what that definition is. Right here, we're dealing with some encroachments, right, forefront, and we're trying to create some kind of framework to evaluate those encroachments so that we can process them, because right now we have a number of fences, sheds, whatnot in one location, but also in other locations that staff needs some direction on how council would like to approach that and what you'd like us to consider.
Councillor Schuman.
Yeah, so I'm going to vote in favor of this policy. And, you know, I think before we start changing things up. Maybe, you know, we should vote and see. I know certain people feel this way or that way about this, and I think before we really get into, you know, deciding what needs to be done differently, we should see if we don't support this motion before we start trying to come up with alternatives.
Councillor Zveka?
So just a question on the, if it was, if there was wording to being proactive in this document, does that conflict with that other bylaw?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we could include wording within this policy and specifically exempt it from the bylaw enforcement. The wording in the bylaw enforcement policy says by complaint basis only. We could include an exemption within this policy. That this would be.
You know, it's, to me, there's two different things. I mean, there's all of the routine issues that come up, like whatever, weeds and all that stuff. It's different than, to me, land use is what I'm talking about as far as being proactive. So if the city staff see a trespass onto a park or onto a road allowance, you know, it should be proactive, I think. And if it can be included in this document that way, that there is a proactive approach, and it's not conflicting with the other bylaw, I think we should be including that. And so we've got a motion on the table.
Yep.
Like, I'll suggest that we do an amendment to change the name of the document to trespass, include the word trespass, and include wording in there and differentiate from the old stuff, because, you know, I mean, that's already happened. We're trying to resolve it, but from now on, that the city staff are proactive. If they see something, a trespass onto city land, that it's dealt with.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that staff's probably gonna be doing that now anyways, but I guess they're gonna need to have direction, so. Duncan?
I would second the motion. I would second the amendment.
Okay, so the amendment to the motion is take out the word encroachment and add trespass to it?
For the title of it, yeah.
For the title?
Yeah.
Okay.
So trespass
And that has to be throughout the
policy.
Instead of encroachment, it's gonna be trespass, okay. And what else did you want?
Under enforcement.
And
Yeah,
and then have enforcement.
Yeah, and I don't think that, you know, right now it's a highlight, so everybody's thinking about it, but as you go down a year or 2 or 3 years down the road and people change and, you know, the thing slips to the back again, if you don't have it in the wording that the intent is to be proactive, you sort of gravitate back to where it's not being addressed. So I think it's worthwhile to have it in the document.
So proactive enforcement.
Yeah,
With
some
regards
wording to that
land
effect.
use.
So,
And I don't mean to go and have you know, a fleet of bylaw officers going around doing studies, but if staff are sort of coached to look for that kind of stuff when they're out and about, you know, that's what I mean. It's
so that goes back to training, Duncan?
So, through you, Mr. Chair, if this is the direction council would like to go, I would recommend sending this policy back so that we can include proactive and actually define it so everybody's clear as to what that is and what that isn't. And then council can approve it at that time. We can talk about it in here, but I want to ensure that we capture that intent. What I hear right now is, you know, a proactive, according to Councillor Zvakov, would be, the amendment is in particular around the enforcement of encroachments or trespass, whatever that policy is referred to it. And we would also have to ensure that it's not contradicting any other bylaws or policies that we have. So we'd want to take a look at that if we were going to make that change. It's a large change to our current practice and to this document. So if council would like to do that, I'd recommend kicking it back.
Councillor Parcel?
Yeah, I think that's a wise suggestion. And so I'm just wondering, procedurally, we have an amendment to a motion, a motion's on the table, and we've amended it. A motion to refer would be in order?
Well, first of all, to deal with the motion to the amendment.
We gotta do,
If you wanted to vote on that first, or if you wanted to just refer both the motion and the amending motion to staff, and then we can bring it back. Sure.
That's what we should do.
what's your will?
I will
Both motions?
refer
Okay.
it.
So we'll
Since I
forward
made
it
the
to
motion.
The
staff.
motion to refer now.
To defer?
Refer takes
Refer,
precedence.
sorry, refer.
Right.
So to
I'll
refer the
second that.
motion, I have Councillor Schumann, Councillor Wilbur. Any discussion on the referring? All those in favor? Carried. Opposed? Carried.
And we don't have to deal with this next one then, till a later
No.
date then.
Because it's mentioned in the policy there, yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so then moving on, I guess, to 7.12. Good discussion, by the way. Report number 17-134 from the Director of Development Services regarding multi-use capital projects. Councillor Javetkov?
I recommend a report number 17-134 from the Director of Development Services re multi-use path capital projects be received. Further, the council defer the Northern Lights College multi-use path project until 2018 and reallocate $145,000 from that project to the 17th Street multi-use path project. Further, that council utilize the $30,000 from the Brookside Path project to complete a geotechnical investigation on the path east of Brookside Cemetery to provide recommendations on options to stabilize the bank, and further that the remaining $85,000 from the project budget be utilized for maintenance and repairs to the existing Kin Park walking trail between 8th Street and Rotary Lake.
Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion?
Good idea, guys.
All those in favor? Carried. Report number 17-136 from the Parks and Facilities Manager regarding request for a resolution supporting NDIT grant application for community halls and recreation facilities. Councillor Wilbur?
I'll move that report number 17-136 from the Parks and Facility Manager regarding the Northern Development Initiative Trust, NDIT, Community Halls and Recreation Facilities ICE Resurfacer Grant application be received. Further, that the Council of the City of Dawson Creek supports the application to Northern Development Initiative Trust from the City of Dawson Creek for a grant of up to $30,000 for the RFQ 2017-30 ICE Resurfacer Replacement Project from the Northeast Regional Development account.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Discussion? Councillor Javetkov? I thought you were voting in favor.
Hey?
I thought this was a slam dunk.
Well, it is, but I was just wondering why it's 30,000. Shouldn't it be up to 50,000?
Because that's what they said.
Who said?
NDIT. Am I correct in saying that, Duncan?
So through you, Mr. Chair, Levi, we applied for the 50, but we're only eligible for 30, is that correct?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, the additional $20,000 wasn't available for municipalities.
Oh. So they're leaving it for us.
I
For the
pulled over.
scale.
I pulled over on the side of the road after our meeting and phoned Duncan about this. So yeah. Question: all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 7.14 report number 17-137 from the Energy Manager regarding climate risk network funding update. Councillor Parslow.
The report number 17049 from the Energy Manager, re Northeast BC Climate Risk Network funding application update be received. Further, Council support the request by the Fraser Basin Council to be a partner in the formation of a climate risk network and authorize the expenditure of $1,000 towards the development of a terms of reference for the work and commit up to $8,000 of in-kind facility rental contribution for the initiative and direct funding as or if required.
Seconded by Councillor Schumann. Discussion? The only thing that tweaked on me was when they were talking about the water use for the oil and gas industry, but yet they're talking about a 20 or 30-year plan. I'm sitting there going, and they were talking about droughts and everything else, but and the Fraser Basin is their key, one of their key things is watershed management, etc. It just got me to thinking about if we're concerned about droughts and everything else in northeast British Columbia, where over 80% of the grain for the province of British Columbia is grown and comes from, and the agricultural industry that we do have, why is it that they're not even talking about irrigation? I would just wonder, myself, I'm just wondering why they're not talking about possible irrigation in 10, 20 years from now for all of these and specialty crops that might be coming in. Go ahead, Councillor Parslow was first, and then...
My understanding that the soil here is not suitable for irrigation. The soil that does lend itself for irrigation is pretty well confined to where the Peace River is going to be flooded by Site C. You need alluvial soil, and this soil is not suitable for irrigation. That is what I have been told.
Councillor Schumann?
And my comments are just, we're just in the beginning stages of this, and certainly there'll be all sorts of time to ask those questions and to have your input in it as we move forward with this. So lots
It was
of
just,
time.
that was just, when I first looked at it, I thought, well, why are they just focusing on the oil and gas industry? There's a whole other industry that's out there.
Absolutely.
And Councillor Parslow, I irrigate my garden.
Yeah.
Question, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 715. Report number 17-138 from the Director of Development Services regarding request for proposals 2017-27 Dawson Creek flood mitigation. Councillor Schumann.
I move report number 17-138 from the Director of Development Services, request for proposals 2017-27, Dawson Creek flood mitigation planning results be received. Further, that the council award RFP 2017-27, Dawson Creek flood mitigation planning to Ebwater Consulting for $140,300 plus GST.
Seconded by Councillor Parslow. Discussion? Councillor Javetkov?
I just wondered if there has been any assessment to date. And the reason I'm asking, I got a call from Bergeron's funeral home there. They were flooded out during the last flood. And he was telling me that his insurance went up to $9,300 per year with a $100,000 deductible, which is pretty high, and he can't get flood insurance. Although they have found a supplier that'll give him flood insurance to the tune of I don't have the number for that, but it's exorbitant. The cost of his repairs were $700,000 after the flood. So he's wondering about the culverts on 102nd. Like, they were backing water. Water was flowing over the street. That seems like an obvious thing that should be addressed. Has there been any discussion about that, or?
Duncan?
Mr. Chair, I'll ask Kevin
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, so after the floods in 2016, we did have some assessments done on the creek itself to look at the channel, look at the crossings, and identify any work to be done. Right off the top, that one doesn't ring a bell as that it needed anything. In 2016, what exacerbated a lot of it was debris, which may have taken a crossing that would have worked fine. It caused it to not work as well as it could have. So what we've done is reestablished that work, reestablished the floodplain, identified that work. This work ties in perfectly with that about, okay, now that we know what the impacts are, how do we mitigate them? So this will look at ways to try and assist, property owners such as Bergeron's on, what can be done to try and keep it from happening in the future.
So is the intent to consult these individual businesses? Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, the RFP talks about consultation, correct?
Yeah, through your chair, this is one of the reasons why we chose this consultant, is because they had a very large section on public participation and all the stakeholders, property owners, and
Right
other
on.
agencies that need to be involved in this process.
Good.
Calling the question, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bylaws, 8.1, zoning amendment 17-02, bylaw 4349, 2017. It's just Louisiana Pacific. It's just a little bit of housekeeping, I believe, for changing zoning.
So moved.
Wilbur Schuman, all those in favor? Carried. 8.2, report number 17-135 from the Director of Corporate Administration, fees and charges amendment bylaw 4351, 2017. Councillor Schuman?
Do I have to read something? How about I just move it? Sorry, I didn't have it up. Somebody got it up?
Fees and charges?
Yeah, I'm moving
fees
it
and
for,
charges.
I can read it, but I'm not moving it.
nothing's showing up. I'm
Okay.
moving it. I moved it.
So the report number 17135 from the Director of Corporate Administration, fees and charges amendment bylaw number 4351, 2017 be received. Further, third reading of bylaw 4351, 2017 be rescinded. Further, that bylaw 4351 be amended by clarifying the annual CPI increase with the highlighted text included in clause 2.6, shown in the bylaw attached to this report.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one here then.
That's the recommendation number one. So you move that.
Sorry, I was on the wrong thing.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Discussion? Councillor Parslow?
I'd like to listen to staff's reflections on the feedback that's documented here. Starting with number 2, Terry DeChef.
Duncan?
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, I would ask Levi to comment on the maintenance of the fields.
Yeah, so through you, the chair. The program we run out there is based on best practices, and we've found that the keeping up with the cutting of the grass, the irrigation that we do, breaking out the infields, that actually reduces the cost of pesticide application further down the road, and reduces the amount of work each year we have to do to bring back fields to a good level of playability. So based on that, that's why we see the amount of work we put into the fields.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was huge.
The next one from Patrick Howell, Dawson Creek Masters Swim Club.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Chair, in working with this group, they are not a not-for-profit. They have not applied for nonprofit status, and they are charging patrons or charging their customers to participate in this group. They're operating as a for-profit organization.
Yeah.
Our bylaw defines that as a commercial activity and charges 125%. We can go back and speak with Mr. Howe to determine whether that fee is just to cover the cost of the lanes, but our understanding is he's instructing and receiving a fee to instruct. But we'll follow up with that to ensure that is accurate. If that is the case, then he would be charged commercial.
Well, there's other points raised there that you haven't addressed yet.
Okay.
Starting maybe just to help you focus on the response here. Regardless of the above, that paragraph, regardless of the above, following the suggestions to council outlined by PERT, the situation qualifies for an exemption, investment or consideration of revenue. From the report to council mentioned above, it recalls the following suggestions to council. Exemptions should be provided when there is a vacant or cancelled time, etc. That section.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, sometimes we intentionally provide vacant and canceled times because, as you're aware, the 8 lanes take up the entire lap pool, and we like to maintain a number of them for public use, and also to ensure that the diving board and the high dive can be operational. So it isn't necessarily in our best interest to have all of those lanes booked all of the time. There is a balance there. By reducing that cost, we could encourage some use, but we may take away from the public use of that area.
Okay. Caitlin Treble thing, I know all about that, so I don't have any questions personally about that. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can provide a response just for the public's.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So criminal record checks are usually required either as a employment or volunteer. The fees have been set at $25 for over 17 years. This is the first change we've had. The recommendation was put forward to create some parity, but also the criminal record check has changed significantly over the last 3 or 4 years. And I mean, if a customer that is requiring a criminal record check for volunteer purposes brings in a letter from an agency confirming that it is for volunteer purposes, there's no charge and just some data. We had done 512 criminal record checks as of August 1st, approximately 73 per month. 253 were for employment, and 259 were volunteer, no charge.
You okay?
Your last comment, is staff providing a response to these people so they know we've looked at what they've said and considered?
So, through you, Mr. Chair, we followed up with some of them, particularly Caitlin. We will have to follow up with the others.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Schumann?
So we also have some concerns from staff regarding our CPI increases that are that came up when we discussed this last, and are suggesting some amendments. So for clarification purposes, including the following exemptions where the annual CPI increase will not apply. Any fee or charges identified as cost or cost plus 10%. Any fee or charge identified as a deposit. Any fee or charge identified as no charge or NC. That's one of the amendments. The other is to defer. Are these different?
Yes,
Brandon?
that was actually included in the resolution.
Is it in the
Yes, they were
resolution?
covered.
Okay.
But those were just to defer the CPI
CPI
increase to 2019.
2019.
2018 rates. And were already set
Okay.
by, in the community services section.
So that's already in here. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I'd like to say, it goes without saying that, like, this has been a couple of years. I believe staff has been working on it and consultants have been working on it. And these are the recommendations that have come forward from consultants, from staff, because they've looked very hard at this. And my feelings is, well, it would never ever be enough for me anyways, but they've done a lot of research on this, and the numbers seem to be what is standard for everybody. And I think the fairness for everybody, some people will complain, no doubt, that it's not fair, that they got to pay more than another group does and stuff like that, but this is a good start, and things can always be improved on. Anyways, just my comments. Is there any questions on the recommendation? Any comments? All those in favor of recommendation number 1? Anybody opposed? Carried. Recommendation number 2, Councillor Schumann.
Yeah, that fees and charges amendments by law 4351 2017 be provided third reading as amended.
Councillor Parslow. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Sorry about all that confusion.
Mayor's business.
No,
No,
8.3.
Oh, come on.
That's the one. You don't get to do mayor's business.
Okay, report.
Oh, yeah, I guess he does.
Report number 17-139 from the city planner regarding zoning amendment 17-03 bylaw 4350 2017 1101 121st Avenue. Councillor McFadden.
That report number 17-139 from the city planner rezoning amendment 1703 bylaw 4350-217 be received.
Second.
Further, that zoning amendment 1703 bylaw 4350-2017 be given first and second readings, and further that the staff be directed to publish the required notice for a formal public hearing.
Thank you, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion?
I
What a
seconded
snort.
it.
I know.
I'm supporting
She's
you.
snorting over there.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Is your arm sore?
Mayor's business. I'll wait till the mayor gets back. He probably wants to talk about the fall fair, how much of a great time he had.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
We have some asks, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that.
What's that?
Do we not
Wait.
have to deal with the asks?
No,
from
we do have to
delegations?
deal with delegations, so.
3 items.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. I told you I'd forget.
do we remember?
One of them was, just a sec, I can remember.
We have the LAT team.
It was the lady for a letter of support, and Martha Funk, sorry.
yeah.
She wanted a letter of support, and she wanted to utilize the link on the city's website. Councillor Parslow.
I move that we support the request of Martha Front for an application to the Vancouver Foundation and for a link on our city website.
Councillor Schumann, seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And then we had Anthony Stark from the South Peace Search and Rescue. And basically he was asking
For a lot.
a lot. Yeah, sorry, but a request that the South Peace Search and Rescue be used for additional manpower and equipment-based operations as part of Dawson Creek's emergency plan. Councillor Parslow.
I move that we have the staff give some feedback at the next council meeting how or if this group could be integrated with our existing emergency plan.
Well, and we've moved to start a whole new one with the regional districts, so.
Well,
Sorry, you have a motion? Yeah.
That's a motion. Yeah.
That's a motion.
Yeah.
Speak to it in a minute, but.
Yeah, I just waiting for somebody to second it so we
Oh,
can
I'll
speak to it.
second it.
Councillor Sherman.
So my understanding, they wanted to support the City of Dawson Creek's emergency response program. They related how Hudson's Hope had called them. They hadn't, and I'm just wondering, before we just make any decisions about this, we need to have some information from our existing, I guess it's the fire chief, is he not, about how they might be integrated, rather than just saying, go ahead, do it. Maybe our fire chief doesn't want them, I don't know.
What, Councillor Schumann?
So that's where I'm going.
And then, I mean, the very first item of business, we voted to, work with the regional district on a collaborative emergency management model feasibility study. So I'm thinking that, once we go through that, there might be more information of how we utilize this group in that whole, I mean, none of us want to be working in silos when it comes to this, especially when we see what's happening down south and everybody has to work together. Search and rescues, municipalities, regional districts, First Nations, they're all coming together down there. And I mean, we have to make sure that we've got that here as well. And so I totally agree that we should do, as Councillor Poslow has moved, and look into how they can be a part of that.
Councillor Javetka?
Yeah, they're offering their services, and I think it's a valuable resource, and they've got some good equipment there, so it's a matter of administration working with them, and it fits right into the correspondence that we had from the regional district regarding the collaborative emergency management model. So, it sort of all comes together, and it just needs to be coordinated.
Duncan?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we can include this with that collaborative approach and ask them to take a look at it. And we can work with them directly as staff in the meantime to see if there's an opportunity there. We'll bring some information back in a committee of the whole, if that's okay with council. I don't know that
Sure.
Yeah, so that would be our approach to bring council up to date of how we've made progress.
Yeah, because it'd be good to ask our first responders what their opinion is as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried?
Was there another one?
Are we almost done?
Ass, I don't know, what other ass?
Was there just
Curbside recycling, through you, Mr. Mayor, but I don't believe there was an ask.
There wasn't an ask, I
information.
don't believe, from...
that was just for
Jeremy.
information,
Just information.
Yeah.
which I hope y'all listen to.
No?
No.
There's nothing else under mayor's business, I believe? Okay.
Hell, we'll freeze
Okay,
them before we.
diary? Anything on the diary?
Nothing to update, Mr. Chair.
Consent calendar?
So moved.
Mr. McFadden seconded. All those in favor? Carried. Strategic priorities chart?
Nothing to update, Mr. Chair.
Question and answer period.
No one has signed up.
Media questions?
Nobody is here.
Nobody's here. I need a motion to recess to closed meeting. Councilors Wilbur, Councilor Schumann. All those in favor? Carried. And I guess we're recessing to closed meeting.
Oui.